All right.
Like, they always tried to play.
Gasp! Y'all, I just received a Steam Community Award for my Transa Ruby review.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Well, that's just nice.
I want to see the emails the one guy got where I followed him around for 2 weeks, giving every post he made a clown award.
That was so extra.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it's just like, I'm making it my mission to make sure you know how stupid you sound at this point in time. And and he would make posts everyone. It was like, I see somebody giving me clown awards and you think it's bothering me.
Oh, no.
Like, surely it's not, Jester. Sure it is not. Yeah, I did that for like 2 or 3 weeks. I know, it was like, I gave him
Wait, it's anonymous? They don't see
Yeah, they don't tell you who gave you the award.
Oh my God.
So it's just like me tailing this guy, following his profile and seeing anywhere he posts and not even reading the post and just giving him clown awards.
How old are you?
Look, I'm giving that guy.
I just remember really regretting some of the stupid shit I would write on Newgrounds in my 20s, and like you can't edit that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay.
All my stupid shit that I wrote was in Yo-Yo Games reviews, and those are erased.
Lucky.
I'm safe.
Oh my God, I got so salty replying to reviews on Newgrounds.
Oh, I've seen some of it. Yeah, that whole site was kind of stupid.
But the whole site was like, everyone was partially a contributor, so like, well, what have you made was like a valid response to me.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Oh, man, that's the good shit.
Yep, throwback. Hey, y'all, I decided I don't need to have every ROM for every system ever.
No, I mean, the only way you need that, if you have like an EverDrive or something, or a power pack, like if you have one of those things and you just put it in a console, yeah, that's really cool. But nah, man, I'm not one of those people that has like every fucking MAME ROM ever or every NES ROM.
I just kind of decided like, okay, I'm going to download ROMs when I want to play the games, and then I'll have them on my. So like right now I have like a.
Oh, well, what if the site gets shut down, John?
I mean, that's the worry. That's the dice I'm rolling, is that every single ROM website is not shut down forever.
Yeah.
If that happens, then I'm fucked.
I have not played an emulator in probably a long time. I have, 208 NES ROMs, and they take 40 megs. It's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's more just kind of like when I go in there and I open that ROM folder, it's like, great, I gotta scroll for like 20 minutes to find the one stupid game I want.
I just mean like instead of downloading a torrent of every Nintendo 64 game, just having like the 10 games I care about.
Yeah.
That's like one thing that I did that tidied things up a bit. I deleted Xenoblade X because that was like 30 gigabytes.
Yeah, that's huge. Like modern games, they're kind of big.
Probably still have that, and I'm probably never going to play it.
Oof.
You're probably fine never playing it.
The death knell is always, well, it wasn't on John's Game of the Year list.
There you go. It couldn't have been that great.
If you spend 50 hours playing an RPG and then it doesn't make your top list, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Okay, I have Super Metroid. That's all that matters.
There you go.
Do you really need anything else other than Super Metroid? Like, what other SNES games really matter?
You really need it so you can patch it and play them.
Well, guess what? I got Power Rangers the movie.
Okay.
I got the Ninja Warriors again, and I've got Kaizo Mario World.
I mean, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. God, Kaizo Mario, I know it reminds a lot of people of other people, but there was this Let's Player I remember back in the day that played the Kaizo games, and he had, like, he always talked like this, and he would, like, he would play all of the Kaizo games and just talk like this the whole time. Haha, yes, I'm loading the state. Haha, yes. And he just, like, 20 minutes straight, just like, how are you not blowing your voice out, my dude? I can't remember the dude's name. Shit.
All right. Pirate.
He wasn't a pirate. Is that what you were getting ready to Google pirate Let's Player?
Oh my god.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't like.
Ron Lambert.
Oh my god, that's fucking it.
What?
Just Google pirate voice Let's Player, Kaizo Let's Player, Sir Ron Lionheart.
Oh my god.
How did that work? I never thought of him as a pirate.
Polly, that voice you were doing was a pirate voice. That is the
No.
only conceivable read on what you just did.
My
That was a
birthday is
pirate
Talk
voice.
Like a Pirate Day. I would know what a pirate sounds like, okay?
Yeah, you just did a
No,
pitch
that's not a pirate.
perfect
No.
You were in
No.
the
No.
movie Dodgeball
No.
from 2004 playing a pirate.
No. That's not
Yes,
a pirate.
yes.
No.
All right, Polly, give us a pirate voice.
Argy mateys, I'm SpongeBob SquarePants.
Literally the same voice.
No,
You just
it
did the
is
same
not.
voice,
No,
right?
It is
not.
not. No, not even close. No. You're not getting me on this one, Thayer. It's not happening. Not this time.
So Sir Ron Lionheart has a video 7 years ago, and then the next one is 2 years ago. Like, there was a gap there, but they
Yeah,
are
he went away for a long
semi-active.
time, and then he went away again, and I don't think he's doing content anymore.
I mean, the last one's 2020,
Oh, yeah.
so November though, so not only about 3 months old, right? November 2020.
Oh, God, stop doing that. Like, even in AGDQ, like, they kind of not acknowledged that 2021 had happened, and people kept saying AGDQ 2021. I was like, this is
Oh my god.
we've all literally lost a year, haven't we?
But it's weird because 2020 feels like the year we lost, and
But
2021 was just
2021
coasting.
2021 is just the giant nothing.
Yeah, it's weird.
And I think that that's why it's less memorable, because 2020, everything's going to shit, hell in a handbasket. You're sitting there, you know, you've got an election coming up, you're going crazy. 2021
Yeah.
is just the literal fucking nothing. So I think that that's why 2021 is just this year that's just going to be this gap, this big fucking
Yeah.
hole that nobody's ever going to remember. What of note happened?
I introduced Monty to my parents, and they introduced me to theirs.
Oh,
Oh, man.
New Jersey.
We're starting off with the heavy shit today, folks.
Nah, that's fine.
We got some ellipses in chat on that one. Hi, everybody.
Guess what?
Welcome.
Nothing of note happened.
Welcome to Sockscast episode 150. And that's like one of those numbers where when you say
know,
it,
right?
you go, wow, that's a big milestone, right? You guys got to be really feeling great about it. And it's just like, man, it's 2022. Like, maybe when we hit 200, it'll be like what happens first? Like the death of the planet or episode 200? That's kind of the only countdown I'm keeping track of now. It's just like, oh, okay. Like, are we just like which is done first? Sockscast episode 200 or
Fucking
the planet?
That's only like 2 years.
I mean, the death of the country probably is probably maybe a little maybe a little more feasible, like the death of the country or Sockscast episode 200. I'm waiting for like the apocalypse to happen while we're broadcasting episode 200, which I think would be just the perfect capper for us, right?
the most influential podcast of all time.
The only podcast of all time.
Broadcasting across the wastes.
Yeah. I'm gonna be that reporter at the end of VLR. That's really dark.
God.
That's really dark. Yeah. Hey, it's episode 150. We're very thankful to have made it. How many podcasts make it this far? Right? This many years and this many episodes.
I do not remember life before doing the podcast, which is a little weird.
Isn't it? Like we've been doing this
when
so
you go
long
back to
now.
like when we doing it like 2014, I think.
We started in August 24th, 2014.
Okay.
And we were just recording them then, and that was way more boring than doing them
right.
live.
Yeah, those early episodes are, we're finding things.
Yeah. Like I remember, I don't think this show really found its groove until like episode 30 or so, honestly.
Yeah.
I think that's when things kind of just started feeling more freeform and less structured. I think that was around the time we were just like, get rid of this stupid outline.
Oh God.
Because you start a podcast and you think, oh, hey, this is how everybody does it. This is how everybody. We're gonna be just like Giant Bomb. Man, imagine if they had done a podcast back in the day instead of us. Then they'd be the only podcast. That's wild. Yes, John.
I simply do not consider the past and only live in the present.
I think that's probably
once we make a podcast, it exits my brain. Just like, okay,
it's out. We're done.
I had to go back to our 2017 Game of the Year to figure out what my number 3 was that year. Because I wanted to know. And so it was kind of funny though. John's number 3 was Danganronpa 1 and 2. And then my number 3 was Danganronpa 1 and 2.
Oh, nice.
So we just talked about it twice.
Yeah, those are two really damn good games to be talking about.
It was just funny because I'm like, I'm pretty sure it was Danganronpa 1 and 2, but I have to go check because I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I tried to get a doc together of I would always write what y'all are making your lists as we do them, but they were spread across like different notepad files and whatnot. I'm trying to, so I do not have a complete list of the Gottis over the years.
Cool. All right, to my media virtual right, he'll cut your brainstem as his combat boots grind your head. It's Rhett.
Now I'm the boot.
Now you're the boot. Das Boot.
Oh, God.
How's it going, Rhett?
It's going.
You had a good time before the podcast, as I understand it.
Yeah, with my Game of the Year.
With your Game of the Year. It's great. Yeah, it's always nice when we can revisit our Game of the Year multiple times, sometimes multiple times a day.
Everyone listening is going to be like, what?
That's okay. That's what podcasts are for. Inside jokes that only you get.
Yeah.
It's fine. Look, nobody's here, okay? Nobody's watching this, and nobody's going to download this. We can sit here and literally talk about anything we want. In fact, I'm going to deter people from being here at the moment.
Oh, my God.
We are recording this on Sunday night, so for if you're downloading this later, this ain't going to fly. It's 7 o'clock. I want you all to go over to twitch.tv/freezinginferno. It's doing something really cool at 7 o'clock, so... There you go. Even more incentive for the nobody watching what we're doing right now. Even more incentive for the nobody here to be going over there and doing things. So, yeah, that twitch.tv/freezinginferno. At 7 p.m.
We got our nice freeform energy now.
There you go. We can just sit here and literally do nothing. It's great.
No. We're going to talk about video games. I'm very excited to talk about video games.
To my immediate virtual left, young, rich, and famous with money hanging out his anus, it's John Thayer.
Hi.
Hey.
That's me.
It is you. It is you. I often see you running around with dollar bills hanging out of your anus.
Just ejecting it.
Ejecting. Yeah, like your ass literally prints money.
It's like the Nintendo DS.
Like the Nintendo DS. Which do you think is better, John's ass or the Nintendo 3DS or the Nintendo DS? I think we need to get
Nintendo 3DS. It's no contest.
No. Yeah, well, we're talking.
Rank them DS, John, 3DS.
DS versus John Thayer's ass. There's the straw poll that needs to be happening right now, I think.
The DS has like a lot of good RPGs.
How many
John
RPGs?
Is like, I'm losing this one.
How many RPGs does your ass have, John?
0. It's great, but the DS's library of stunning RPGs. Now, I think my ass soundly trounces the 3DS and decently beats the Game Boy Advance library, which was good, but like hamstrung by only having like 3 years of vibrancy.
Sure.
The DS is just almost like 8 years or something of just ridiculously of constant new content and constant RPGs and original games.
And there's a port of Chrono Trigger on there.
There is.
And there's a port of Chrono.
John, does your ass have a port of Chrono Trigger?
It doesn't have Ghost Trick either.
No, oh man, John,
yeah.
you know, like as much as I love your ass, and I do, don't get me wrong. I mean, at least your ass and the DS do have in common that you can just put things in them, right? I mean, that's fine.
That's true.
I mean, the DS can fit a GBA cart as well.
Yeah,
the DS.
The DS can do double penetration. You cannot. I mean, I suppose you could double penetrate John. You could spit roast him, right?
Now the DSi, on the other hand, this is one of the many limitations of
one of the many limitations. Like you only got one hole, but
you can't spit roast a DSi.
So John's ass is better than the DSi, but it's no competition
That's the
At
thing
all
is that the
for
DS,
the DS.
also lets you play all the Game Boy Advance library. Like the Game Boy Advance library on its own doesn't really stand a chance against my ass.
No,
but the DS Lite with that extra bright screen.
Okay,
that
yeah.
stands
I'm going DS Lite every time.
Rika the Ice Princess says GBA is the best handheld console. The DS Lite is a GBA. It's like the nicest way to play GBA games, and it plays DS games, and the DS has a better library.
So much better than John's ass.
Okay. I didn't say so much better. I said better.
No,
I said
I
give it the nod, but it's not like I'm being trounced here.
I don't know. Like, when you consider the strength of some of those DS role-playing games, my friend, I don't know.
And Ghost Trick.
And your ass doesn't have a ghost trick. That's the problem. Just like Sony didn't have a Halo killer, your ass does not have a ghost trick killer.
It's true. It doesn't have it.
This is what happens
The
when
world
you
does
just
not end.
up.
The world does not end with my ass.
Yes, the world will not end with John Thayer's ass.
The 158 over 2 asses.
The best thing I can say about John's ass is that at least he's like keeping it in circulation. Like, I know that John's ass is always going to be like, if I ever want just big old shot of John's ass, it's going to be right there. Like, I can get that.
The ass advent.
The ass.
The ass vent.
The ass.
Fuck.
Ha!
Professor Layton and the curious ass.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
John, now you're a Twitter thread that isn't funny.
Now I'm a bad Twitter thread.
Now
you're right.
Yeah, you're kind of like, you've gone like 3 tweets too far. Like, you kind of pushed your luck, took the joke one layer too far.
But also, let me say, Phoenix Wright, ass attorney.
Okay. The Twitter thread got funny again. It's like that person making a comment 3 days later, but they only get like 3 retweets from their friends on it.
Dragon Quest V, clap of the heavenly ass.
I don't know what that one originally was.
It's Hand of the Heavenly Bride.
Well, see, Ace Attorney and Ass Attorney, I think that's a little more funny.
I think that's funnier.
I worked in the clap though. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you don't like. There's a time. There's a time to work with the clap, and there's a time to not work with the clap. And I think that like John picked like the one time you would probably want to work with the clap.
Thank you. Okay.
What is this show anymore?
The funniest podcast on the internet.
They really are. Like, I often wonder why we do, like why we sit here and pretend like we give a goddamn about the media that we consume.
No, don't worry, I very much do.
I often wonder why we do that when we could just sit here and talk about
fun as well.
When we could just sit here and talk about John's ass for the next hour, and that's like a whole bit, and then we go on break and come back and we talk about Rhett's dick.
I was gonna say Rhett's dick, from Rhett's dick to John's ass.
Ass of the Heavenly Bride. That's pretty good.
But the two shall not meet. The two shall not meet. Rhett doesn't. Rhett doesn't go that way. It's fine. Anyway, so who wants to start this stupid bullshit?
I want to.
I think John does.
All right, John, go, make the podcast happen.
I started Umineko.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Umineko no Naku Koro ni?
Umineko no Naku Koro ni.
You mean the hit sequel to Higurashi, When They Cry?
The hit sequel to Higurashi. So I was really into Higurashi in, let's see.
Oh, God, you're going to remember a time. Oh, God.
So I was like 12 years ago. Mm-hmm. So probably like 2010. That's not actually too long after the show came out.
Yeah. The show was 2006. So.
Yeah. So I came a little bit after, just a little bit after y'all.
Right.
So I always loved Higurashi. I watched the whole anime. I watched Kai. And I had a blast. Mm-hmm. And I never actually read the VN until 2 years ago when all of us did.
When literally everybody did, and now everybody's continuing to do that because I'm the trendsetter.
Because you are the taste-making trendsetter at the moment. Of course, now I am the taste-making trendsetter at the moment.
Yeah, because because along with John starting Umineko, we are literally starting streaming Umineko tomorrow night. So,
something got you to wanna play that one.
Something made it hit. It was just like, you know what, we got to do this again, don't we?
Been a few months since Higurashi.
Yeah.
Yep. It's time.
Honestly, when I was realizing that it had been over a year since you played that, I was like, wow, like What? 2021 really was the Phantom year?
I played through Higurashi to get through the pandemic, and then I took a year off, and now I'm playing Umineko, and there's still a pandemic. I'm depressed.
Pandemic kind of went away for the summer, and now it's back, so it's time for an 8-game visual novel.
When They Cry is for when you cry.
Yeah.
Oof.
That's what it's here for.
So Umineko, huh?
I never touched the anime. I never touched this game. Actually, that's a lie. As a kid, like 2010 or something, I remember going through the trouble of getting the Higurashi VN set up, and I read up to like the first time Takano and talks to you about the mysterious murders from 5 years ago. And I kind of dribbled off, and I remember spending like 3 hours getting Umineko working on my computer because you could not just buy it back on Steam in 2010.
No, you had to download it illegally because we all did. Like the day those games came out at whatever con that they came out at. Like I know very specifically, me and Rhett were like there day one downloading the raw versions because like 8 months later they would be translated. So we were there. Fantastic. You downloaded that. You had to get the Witch Hunt patcher, I believe, which would patch the game that you were on, and then and sometimes they would release, and sometimes they do half a game at a time.
Oh, I don't think I ever bothered with the half game patches.
I never bothered with the half patches, but I do remember that was a thing where sometimes they would just do the half patch and then be like, "What's the point of this?"
I think. Was it episode 4 they did that? Because it was like, hey guys, this one's real long. What the hell?
Yeah, I think it was that one and 8.
8, I think, did have a good halfway point.
8 has a good halfway point, yeah. We've kind of taken over John's segment here, unfortunately.
No, it's not a problem. I like hearing about what it looked like, what this was like back in your day, basically.
Yeah,
like when you were
this is the one we lived through.
We lived this one as it was coming out. Umineko was our event for like 3 years.
That's so cool. That's awesome. And so I just never, but I remember. I think I only played it for like 10 minutes after I spent 3 hours getting it working.
Oh, no.
The ROM experience.
Yeah.
Yep. So finally, I was just like, the moment struck me. Hey, I'm going to be sad for a while. Let's play a long visual novel. Let's play motherfucking Umineko.
Finally, let's find out what all these weird troll faces I've been seeing for the last 10 years are about.
Yep. So Umineko, I would say, has a pretty large cultural footprint in our social circles. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I was very pleased by how much I was not prepared for what Umineko does. Like, you think you know about red text, you know about Beatrice making a face and making fun of Battler. Mm-hmm. Battler. I knew Battler making silly theories about how murders happen. I knew that much. And like that was mostly the extent of it. I knew Beatrice didn't show up for a while too.
Yeah.
And then you actually play it, and the first episode is really, really good. It's just a great slow burn, tense, a lot of really good family dynamics. It's just like very immediately engaging and scary, and it's all rooted in like good, cool character dynamics and family dynamics. Like Ryuki getting right back into that stuff that he's really good at.
Yeah. Yeah, just you got like different sets of parents and their kids, and the very different ways that those relationships are good or bad, or and just kind of like so there are definitely some real good parents in Umineko. Let me tell you,
it's really a competition for Mom of the Year all the way down.
I mean, I mean, Headache Mom is the best, right? Like, she's such a mood.
I love Headache Mom.
Natsuhi is such a mood. Her look at all times is just one of constant migraine or really constipated. And I like to think that it's both.
I really like Natsuhi.
Natsuhi's great.
Maria's mom, Rosa gives off an impression because she's introduced as like the nice one.
Mm-hmm. Well, her name's nice and rosy sounding. How could you not love a woman named Rosa?
Maria is so good.
Oh,
all these
so
characters
great.
are so fucking good.
Yeah.
They immediately have like love stories. They have like so many different little stories going on. This is much more of an ensemble piece than Higurashi, because Higurashi was very often you are in this character's head while they have a psychotic breakdown.
Yeah.
That is the arc of the game.
Mm-hmm.
That is several of those games, is just you are in the head of one of these characters as they have a psychotic breakdown.
I'm ready for the complete mental breakdown of this person. Let's go.
Umineko is like jumping viewpoints way more. It's not inside one. Like Higurashi does not really jump viewpoints until I think
the second set of arcs, really.
Yeah. And even then, like they jump into Shion's head in game 5, but it stays there.
Yeah.
Shion's story, the whole game.
Yeah.
Game 6 is like
the Rika game, but that still bounces around between Akasaka and Rika as well.
That's true. So it's like I don't even know if they go into Rika's head in game 4.
I can't remember. I don't think they do now that I think about it. I think that game is almost entirely Akasaka.
Mm-hmm. All Akasaka all the time.
Yeah.
That's the hit mod of Higurashi, removes all non-Akasaka content.
Yeah. That doesn't leave you with much. It does take out that very just awfully paced end of Minagoroshi, though, with Takano just going on and on and on. You might as well why didn't they just rename her Talkano?
Oh my god.
There's a joke. I made a joke.
It's a good joke. Joke.
I'm so funny.
So this is an ensemble piece. It's my immediate impression was like, oh, this is Succession, the hit HBO show. But that dynamic doesn't stay too long. I think it kind of develops.
Yeah.
A ways. But yeah, it's just like it made a very good, strong impression, and then the end of the arc.
Yep.
Explodes and sets you up for what the nature of Umineko is really going to be in a way that Higurashi doesn't really explode for like 70 hours.
70 hours. It's like 7 games before it gets into what it's doing.
Yeah. Umineko jumps in immediately, and as a result, it kind of sets itself up to have to come up with like it's just playing all these good, like it's one of my it's a quote I come back to a lot, is like play all your best cards up front, so you have to come up with new cards.
Yep. That's what this series does consistently,
and that's what Umineko is doing. It is playing all those cards immediately, and now it's like, okay, now what? we literally know who the bad guy is. We know the nature of we know a lot about the nature of the structure, the magic, what's going down, what the central conflict is going to be. And it's at the start of game 2. And then things explode again, like halfway through game 2. And you're like, okay, cool. Here for it. Extremely here for it. Extremely here for it.
Yeah, I think that especially the question arcs have just this way of starting as one thing and then just completely blindsiding you in some fucking ridiculous way that you don't ever see coming. There's so much of that, and it's just like, I know that's good energy, and I cannot wait to get back to it.
There's a scene from episode 3 that I showed Polly the other day, and she was just like, oh my fucking god, I forgot about that.
I completely forgot, and I'm just like, oh god, I know why I'm here again.
John is going to be cackling for like an hour.
Cackle, 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 cackle.
Ah, not wave.
It's like I am extremely here for the nature of this.
Yeah.
Of like the Phoenix Wright shit, the Chuni shit, the Ryukishi grounded family drama. Mm-hmm. It's all good. It's like
so many different things that are all like your jam.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did finish it. I did finish the first game, and I was kind of like, is this going to be a lot of like Danganronpa shit?
Oh.
And like the way it's playing out, I'm pretty sure it is.
Mm-hmm.
But like the nature of it is so immediate and exciting, and still grounded in these characters I care a whole lot about, because Ryukishi, like, you know, he spends 15 hours like with these characters getting everything set up.
Yep.
So, and it's good, but because of that, you really are immediately pulled into them before it gets to like the silly fun stuff.
Yeah. Like I think this series is going to treat you very well.
I think I'm very jazzed for it. I'm kind of braced because the narrative I got from y'all and from other folks is like, I know that one of his co-creators passed away like mid-production.
Yeah,
and it sounds like that guy
I think
took
Game
some
6
of the
after I think after Game 6 BT passed away, and a lot of people seem to think that he kind of lost his passion for that series afterward, but it'll be interesting kind of like looking at that for me 10 years later and seeing like where I am on that now.
Yeah. Narv's impression was just like, I completely love it up through like the end of Game 6. And then like, Game 7 and 8, there's like some weirdness there, but he was still very satisfied. They were still very satisfied with how that game played out at the end.
Yeah, there's still a lot of things to enjoy about Umineko, even when it kind of panned for me at the end. There were still a lot of things that I was jumping out of my chair for, and a lot of great tunes that I was jamming on. That's something this series
There's
has
still
got.
so much more music,
This series has got tunes for days, and they're so good.
I'm gonna say something a little mean. I still love Higurashi, even though I don't like Matsuri. I don't love Matsuri all that much.
I think that's totally fine. I think that Matsuri kind of I think that lands for a lot of people the same way, in that it's kind of like, okay, we're giving you kind of the ideal perfect conclusion now.
It's a little easy for everybody.
I 100% understand that. Like that, I get that entirely.
Yeah, Shion should have died.
Oof.
That's my hot take there.
That's a hot one for sure.
Just think about it, though. It would have been so juicy.
He could have done a real good scene with her dying.
Just imagine.
You could have done a real great death scene of, even just thinking about it, I'm just like, yeah, you could do a real good one there, couldn't you?
Salah's in the chat. I don't know about that one, John.
Don't know if I can follow you down this well.
So like I'm not really going in expecting like perfection. I'm here for the ride of this, and so far this is so.
It's a ride.
Cool.
The story goes so many places that I just was not prepared for.
So like, even though, go ahead, Rhett.
Speaking extremely vague about the last 2 episodes, I do remember a thing of like, episode 6 is kind of the end, but then people didn't understand, so he made 2 more.
Yeah.
As in, like,
he also, like,
people expected there to be 4, like there were 4 in Higurashi.
Yeah, and also, like, episode 2 was a really weird thing with the fandom. I guess they apparently thought it was too hard, so he actually trashed what he had written of episode 3 and rewrote it.
Huh.
There's like, there's an alternate, like, unpublished version
of episode
one of the
3.
Starts. It's 3,
Weird.
The difficulty was going to be max, but I dialed it back.
Yes.
I think my deal with a lot of this is that I don't actually care that much about the mystery. I didn't really theorize much.
Then Ryukishi hates you.
Yeah.
But like the red text, like the way that's getting set up now is just
so
like
fun.
It cut, like, my brain is just like, well, they could have had another key made. There could be a hidden door. There's like there's a billion ways this mystery could resolve just because the world is complicated. But then the nature of the red text is able to like slash through that.
Oh, it's just like all of these easy answers that Battler can throw out there and just suddenly just red text it. And it's like,
ooh, it feels real good.
Yeah. When I say it's a sealed room, it was a sealed room, motherfucker.
But I also like when he can't make her, like, she can't say something in red. Those are also real good moments. Where it's just
it's
like,
a good moment.
like declared in red, then bitch, and she can't,
Or she doesn't want to.
Good.
or I just don't want to, and that's such what a shitty opponent.
Beatrice is so good.
She's so much. Oh my god.
You are just not prepared for the nature of the Golden Witch from the memes. Like,
See, that's the thing for me and Polly, having just gone into this 100% blind, didn't know that Beatrice was going to be a character at all.
No,
just
like,
read episode 1 and we're just like
me saying that at all is kind of a spoiler. Like, that's the wild thing about Umineko.
It's 10 years old. It's
But
hard
it's 10 years at this point. You can't keep something. But yeah, like,
well, I knew
such a
that
basic
bit.
fundamental thing of the series.
Yeah.
Because it happens in episode 1,
yeah,
you know.
like the actual nature of Beatrice and the way that she is so confrontational toward Battler is just something you're not prepared for. The way she just comes at you is so fucking delicious.
I fucking love it. So I am over the moon, very excited. I'm probably gonna take breaks between episodes.
Yeah, that's a smart move, I think.
Like I said, I'm not big on the theorizing. I'm just kind of like, all right, let it
Let's
at me.
go.
Just
Let's let things wash over
just let it
me.
wash over me. But the red text is just kind of making that part of it a little more fun.
Yeah,
And like,
because you are having thought. You all like, despite the fact that you want to let it wash over you, you're still gonna sit there and you're gonna be like, I know there's probably like an extra key. Like, no, there are 5 keys. Well, fuck. That changes how I have to look at things. Let me flip this chessboard around.
There are 18 and a half people here.
the witch exists somewhere in that X between 18 and 19.
I remember us being so much into the theorizing part that I remember playing back through like episodes 2 and 3
God.
and like making an XML document on my site of all the red text. So that we could pour it over for each Twilight and be like, okay, this is where this character was at this time. And all of this shit.
That's so choice.
I do think doing all that does burn you a bit at the end when it doesn't pay off, maybe.
Yeah.
Of just,
I think that's
I know.
Really.
I know the nature of the very last choice. That's another thing I'm kind of informed on.
I mean, it's a very short bad ending and then a real ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured. I'm not particularly. I know that made I think I made a joke with both of you where I heard somebody say, "Now you may not know this because the U.S. fandom is so positive, but the Japanese fandom was really divisive on Umineko's conclusion."
Really?
And I was like, "That is all I've ever heard about Umineko's conclusion."
Yeah. I think that like we've been very consistent over the years in saying, yeah, that ending was a little. We'll see though. I'm excited. I'm going into, like I said, I'm going to start streaming this tomorrow night, Monday evening, starting Legend of the Golden Witch.
Hell yeah.
And I'm going in with an open heart, an open mind to kind of like, I'm going to let all of this hit me again. I'm going to try to take as few of my preconceptions and ideas from 10 years ago in it with me, and I'm just going to enjoy it with chat. And let things happen as they do, and I still expect to be treated well because the stuff that I love about Umineko is still there.
It's still a lot of good shit.
Still amazing. Yeah. So excited to be getting back into this again myself. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm really having a ball here. Yeah, Rhett.
Even if I was pretty cool on the ending as well, like I still look back at like episodes 1 through 5 with like such
like there's
fondness and admiration.
Yeah. At the time, it soured the whole thing for me. But over time, I've just been like, no, I mean, those first 5 episodes are so fucking good, like just nonstop.
I'm jazzed, and yeah, like however it plays out, like it's obviously this cultural landmark.
Yeah,
and a lot of folks it's a touchstone for a lot.
It has definitely hung around.
Also, just playing it and just being like, wait, this was before Danganronpa and Zero Escape.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Those games play with a lot of that kind of meta text that rules nonsense, and Umineko is doing that, but with all the stuff that makes Higurashi good, at 1,000 miles an hour, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
this is very pleasing, and it's actually making me want to go back and check out Phoenix Wright, because I'm pretty sure that there's some DNA there, shared DNA there.
God. I mean, Battler is
literally,
Battler is literally Phoenix Wright. That is who he is designed off of.
He does the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His hair is swooshed in a way that would remind you of Phoenix Wright. But Rikishi has not been in any way subtle about Battler being an analog to Phoenix Wright.
It's kind of funny because my brain is like, okay, like the early formative visual novels like Higurashi and Clannad and Fate, and oh shit, Phoenix Wright was like 2002. Huh.
Yeah, those were GBA games. That's what's so wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that series is very important to VN history, and I want to take a firmer look in that. At least finish that first game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, yeah.
I love visual novels, y'all.
Visual novels are fantastic.
Yeah.
I will say when this got Chuny, when I got Chuny, I was just like throwing everything on the ground, standing up, and just like everything until now was trash. Throw it all away. The VN is good now.
You texted what 10 times in a row?
Yeah, I remember this very specific string of DM messages that was just what.
Well, I knew that stuff was coming. I assumed it was going to be outside the frame of the main story. Mm-hmm. And the fact that and I was kind of like, that was part of why I was kind of like, oh, it's going to be a lot of Danganronpa stuff, huh? It's going to be a lot of mysteries and not really any fun fantasy stuff outside of this one section of the story. Yeah. And now it's like the game is going, nope, we're going jumping into it. I have no idea how that plays into the nature of the main mystery. It's kind of wild.
Explain it with logic, Ushinomiya Battler.
Well, you have to dub Beatrice when you read it.
You want me to dub?
Yeah. Just read all her dialogue with that level of intensity.
With that level of intensity. Sure, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll get right on that.
I love Battler with my entire heart. I think the fact that he starts off kind of useless and pathetic for like 15 hours
he's a bozo.
makes him even more endearing. I fucking love it.
Yeah, he's
very tall.
He's a tall boy.
It's one of those things that doesn't quite get across in the art.
Yeah.
He's like 6 feet tall.
Yeah, he's like 6 feet tall. So
height 5 feet 11 inches. Yeah. Wow.
Okay, almost.
Yeah, pretty tall.
Yeah,
tall
boy.
Shorter than me, but pretty tall. So yeah, that was I think that was my first section. I just had a fucking blast with Umineko.
Yeah, hey, man.
I'm so excited for more of it. It's going to be a recurring segment.
I'm so excited to be joining you. Like, I just like as the week has gone on and I've been sort of preparing my own assets and stuff to get ready to stream it, it's just like, oh my, because I was originally going to do it on the 31st and just give myself a week to kind of prepare. And then, like, the more John kept talking about it, I was like, fuck, we're moving it up a week. So let's see, we're starting on the 24th now.
I'm excited for Zelos wants to jump into.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
It's fun stuff.
It's fun stuff. Rat, what have you been up to?
Oh, boy. So, real quick, just because it's relevant, I started playing The Great Ace Attorney.
Oh, hey.
Which is, it's Ace Attorney, but set around 1900, so it's all, significantly earlier technology. It's actually set in Japan this time, because there's absolutely no way they could actually rewrite the story to be like West Coast America,
Yeah, I wonder if that was still an option for them, or they just kind of gave up because everybody knew at this point that
there's no way. Because it was already stupid enough in the Ace Attorney games with all the shrine stuff.
Yeah.
And this one, it's like, oh, we are taking a boat from Japan to China and then going to England. It's so much more specific. It's like, you can't, because
you just can't at this point.
Nationality and race is a pretty key part of the story, because everyone is weirdly pro-British right now. They all, because it's it's like colonial Britain, and they all really love it. They're like, oh yeah, Britain is the center of the world. Yeah. So it's kind of, I don't know, reverse racist.
So this is not the 1900s, right? This is like this 18, 17?
Maybe it's. Maybe they said
when did the Sherlock Holmes shit take place?
Okay, maybe it is significantly older.
Because I think that's the time frame is older.
Okay, I'm stupid. They haven't said a specific year, so I think they said turn of the century, and I was just like, oh, 1900, because that's the only turn of the century, obviously.
Right, obviously.
So right now I'm in the second arc, and they're on a boat traveling to Britain, and it's going to take them 50 days. And I'm just like,
well then,
that's a nightmare.
That's what I used to do, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's just how you did it.
So the funny thing about that game, though, is just how little that series has evolved since the GBA.
Yeah.
Where it's a nostalgia thing now, where they use the same sound effects, they have the same, text sound for characters talking. It has the same sound effects, they have the same emotes, and it's just like,
You're telling me that series still doesn't have voice acting?
It does not still have voice acting.
I feel that's something that. When this series is so popular now, I feel
they definitely could.
Yeah, I feel that's something you could do, but maybe it's just like it's playing it the same way because hey, that's just how it was on Game Boy Advance.
It really feels like a Pokemon, like it's just how the way things are now, where like Pokemon has the same bump sound when you walk into the wall and you walk in four direct. Yeah. So it's a little weird after playing, the very obvious Ace Attorney inspired games of like Umineko and Danganronpa that were not confined by 20-year-old conventions.
Yeah.
But I'm having fun with it so far. It's cute. It is very funny, and the way they do the animations, like because those original games had very cute sprite art, and like they have to adapt that to 3D. But I think they do a pretty good job.
I played a bit of Dual Destinies, and what I played of that was like, hey, like they actually managed to capture the character very well of what they do with these sprites.
Yeah.
And that can't be easy because 2D animation works way differently than 3D animation, but they managed to do it even though the animation's smoother.
Yeah. I did play the Phoenix Wright versus Ace Attorney, so this isn't my first return in since the DS GBA games.
Yeah.
I haven't played 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, those are the ones. I have those on. I got those on sale for dirt cheap, but I just haven't played them yet.
Yeah. I'll play them if they come to Steam or something. I don't think I'm digging out that 3DS.
I think that's kind of what I think that's ideally what most people want because like they could easily do ports of the phone versions because there are phone versions and they could just they could easily just port those to.
That's what I'm playing them on.
They remade the original trilogy, so people are just like, okay, guys.
Like,
4, 5, and 6, let's go.
Let's go ahead and get Apollo Justice moved over. Let's go ahead and get Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice. Let's go back and pick it all up. Like, let's stop forgetting things.
Yeah. So that's not the game I was actually going to talk about, though, so I'll talk about that more.
But it was relevant because we were talking about Umineko and they're comparable. Yeah. Good transition.
How Ace Attorney is, the big grandfather of that stuff. Yeah. Or maybe there's something that Ace Attorney was inspired by.
Maybe.
Ooh.
I played Trails of Cold Steel, the first one.
That's a
pretty big one.
That's a big one.
It's a big one. It's a very long game. I started it in November.
Yeah, I remember.
And then we did Game of the Year, and I didn't talk about it. Yeah. And then I did an anime episode last episode because I hadn't finished this yet. I finished it now.
Now you can talk about Trails of Cold Steel, start to finish.
Oh boy!
Boy, there's so much, isn't there?
There's so much. But also, have you ever considered that nothing happens in this game?
Best review. Best review.
Best review. But also, that's a statement I don't 100% disagree with.
I think that there's basis to say that nothing happens if you are maybe not familiar with events that took place prior.
Yeah. It's a pretty slow game. It is definitely them setting up like the true next arc.
Yeah, like when you get to the end of Cold Steel, you can feel that this is what they started this game building to, and they are so excited to be here.
Yeah, the last 3 hours of this, you cannot say nothing happens.
I think that it is such a funny thing that every Cold Steel game, at its end, left me at anywhere from 2 to 4 in the morning just screaming what the fuck at my TV. Every single fucking Cold Steel game, I finished them at night, and it was like 2 or 3 in the morning, and I'm just screaming what the fuck at my TV.
This is such a weird game because it is so slow, and then it just pops off so much right at the end.
You see that shit bubbling, though. Like, it does a good job of bubbling.
I do feel like this one's a little rough after playing Azure, which is not how almost anybody in the West has played it to this point.
Yeah.
Because
Azure hits the ground running and doesn't ever stop.
Yeah. That's a game where it doesn't pop off right at the end. It pops off the entire time.
Yeah.
So it's like...
It's Jiffy Pop, just nonstop.
So the problem with this one is that you kind of start... It shows you an event from a different perspective in like August, and then you roll back to March. So you've got like 5 months of cool stuff building up to the August event later on. And you're hearing about stuff that is happening in Crossbell. And having played, those 2 games now, it's like, yeah, it was a lot more interesting when I was participating, when I was there. So the fact that this game starts with another cold open, like the whole John thing of like, they don't trust you to believe that it gets interesting later.
Yeah.
But then having played Azure, like the cold open also isn't particularly compelling on its own either.
Yeah.
Because a lot of this is like, hey, that thing you thought wasn't a big deal from Azure, it actually was a big deal, kind of. So, like it is like expanding the scope of the world like all these games do, but I don't know. This is such a weird game. So much of this game is just so slow, and because Azure tells you a few key things that happen, it was maybe a bit of a struggle to get to the end.
It sounds like.
Because I think overall...
you kind of have... Like, with Cold Steel 1, I think you really kind of have to find yourself getting into the dynamics of Class 7 and in those interpersonal characters' stories.
Yeah.
Because the big meat and potatoes, these characters are not ready to be pulled toward that yet. They're just little newbies in a little military academy. They're not thinking for themselves yet. They're just doing what they're told, and those seeds of independent thought get kind of sprinkled in throughout the course of this story, and you've kind of got to be there for those interpersonal relationships to start growing, so that when the big story starts happening, they get pulled toward it. It's believable. Again, they're like, Trails in the Sky does the same thing.
I agree. Like I just played Trails from Zero, which was like the main plot of Trails from Zero was tying off a subplot from the previous game.
Yeah.
And it's like one small fraction of Trails from Zero.
Yeah.
Like you need to if you're gonna be here for these games at all, there is a level where you need to accept like there's going to be a lot of episodic character stories.
Yeah. I think
and that can be exhausting.
I think so. The thing with Zero is that you have your main cast of 4 characters.
Yeah, like that's easier and neater to wrap up.
Yeah, you have them. They are your party almost the entire game, and you have 4 slots in your active party, which works well with the SSS having 4 members. Class 7 has 9 members.
Yeah, a lot more to kind of deal with there.
Yeah. So there's a lot more small, character growth. And then you go on these, they're called field studies. They're basically field trips where your class, and then the class splits up. So you got like 4 going one way, 5 going the other way. So your active party is always changing. And then it can be weird when it's like you have a real good moment with Elisa in episode or chapter 3, and then she's not in your team at all for the next 2 chapters.
Yeah.
So you don't have that consistent
follow-up of just like, hey, we're cool now. Like,
yeah,
you don't have that. And that's understandable.
So it can be frustrating when it's like, oh, I'm really starting to like this one character, and then they disappear for 20 hours or something.
Literally just wanted Fee to be in his party. Like,
I was so mad every time Fee wasn't in the party.
I knew that was going to be it. I knew it. I fucking knew it.
But again, with Elisa in particular was funny because they do a dumb thing at the start to make her so unlikable.
Oh, God. The fucking first chapter is so bad.
They just make her this ugly, abrasive tsundere for no reason at all, because that's not who she is.
No, it's not at all. I don't know why. Like
I don't know why they do that.
There are so many people that just fucking resent her for it, too. Like, they never let that go, despite the fact that she becomes this really, really cool character as the story goes. Like, they just never let that moment go, and it was just like, that's just bad writing, and she can't be crucified for it.
Mm-hmm. Because they eventually patch it up, and you have a good heart-to-heart talk with her in Chapter 3, and then she's not in your party for Chapters 4 and 5, I think.
Yeah.
So it's just like, oh, okay, your, like, main heroine kind of just disappeared from the story entirely.
Yep.
Because you've got these other characters in your party now, and you're having adventures with them. It just feels a little more disjointed because the group is so large.
Yeah, I think
characters. That's
a common thing you're going to unfortunately run into with Cold Steel, is that it's basically character barf at some point.
Yeah. Oh God, I know 3 apparently has a whole new group of characters where it's just like, oh, okay, like, I don't know how these games end, if it's going to be like Trails 3rd, where you're just making like multiple squads at once because you have 50 active characters.
God. I think that the series at least handles it all well.
Okay.
Like, I think that despite the fact that it's character overload at some point, I think that by the time I got to the end of it all, I was still very satisfied. Like, I was still here for it.
Good.
Because I think with the field study stuff in particular, it's like usually 4 characters just disappear entirely, and like you very vaguely hear what they were doing at the same time. Mm-hmm. I think my overall big arcing problem with this game, I don't hate this game, but I think it is probably my least favorite Trails game. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think the big kind of summation of it is that first chapter and 0 still tell a complete story.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. First chapter has the thing with the coup, and 0 has the thing with the cult.
Yeah.
And those plot threads are like 95% resolved by the end of those games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't feel Cold Steel has anything like that at all. Like, there's the one thing you keep revisiting over the course of the game that does have a climax at the end, but it's not particularly thrilling narratively. Mm. And so then the ending, whereas like 0 does basically not have a cliffhanger ending at all. Mm-hmm. This one has the biggest cliffhanger ending.
Oh, it's
so much meaner than first chapters was.
And the way that it's framed, like the dialogue that's used, it's so much like, oh my God, this hurts. So it's like, this sucks.
It's like 5:50 a.m. and I just text Polly and Iffy, you've got to be fucking kidding me. It can't fucking end that way. Are you joking? like
so good.
I expected a brutal cliffhanger. I was not ready. And before I even got to it, Iffy was like, yeah, so I finished this day. I finished it like the day Cold Steel 2 came out and just immediately started playing Cold Steel 2.
Go check out Sean Chiplock's performance in that scene, too.
Oh, geez.
It's very fucking good.
I believe it.
Woo-hoo! Yeah, he sunk his teeth into that one. It felt real good. Like that's a game where I beat it, and I started Cold Steel 2, and then I was just like, all right, I have to finish Poly Dungeon before I play this. And then Poly Dungeon got done a week later because I really fucking wanted to play Cold Steel 2.
The motivation.
That's the motivation that I had to play Cold Steel 2. It's just like, if there's any way I'm ever going to finish this fucking game, I've got to lock it behind this. And then it's just like, I just dove in and did it.
It's a real mean cliffhanger. I don't know how the next game's going to start. So, like, I think, but also it going so big right at the end when compared with Azure, where it's like, it's going big all the time, and then you get to see and follow through on that.
Yeah.
Where, like, the ending of this was a little anticlimactic for me in that I didn't think I was going to immediately play 2.
Right.
So it's like, here's all this stuff we're setting up, and then you know the game is just going to end at some point, and then it does, and it does at the worst possible fucking moment.
And you're sitting there just like, am I going to do it? Am I going to just dive back in?
The next day at work, The next day at work, I was so emotionally distraught by the fucking ending that I really thought I'm just gonna go home and click install on Cold Steel because the one foresight I had is that like a year ago after playing Azure, I just bought 1 and 2 on Steam at the same time.
Yeah.
So I do have 2 ready. But I was like, oh, I got real kind of bored of the combat in this one. There is there's the immediate impulse of I want to see where the story goes, and then there's the reality of, hey, these are like 80-hour games.
Yeah.
When you said I want to start Cold Steel right away, Cold Steel 2 right away, and I was just like, Rhett, you've DM'd me quite a few times now that you're having a rough go of it getting through this one.
It's a real stunning ending.
Yeah, like
I believe it.
Even if like the 40 hours or so leading up to that last that last chapter or so, it's just like the way that whole last chapter is played out, the mood,
it's pretty crazy.
The mood and the tone leading into the big reveal, like you feel you feel your stomach sinking as the moments keep happening. It's just like everything's just so weird right now. I don't like this. And then it all happens.
Because that's already when I was in the mode of like the game's just going to end at some point and it's going to catch me off guard.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, boy, I know what you mean by the big reveal, but there's like so much that happens in like an hour. That
1 hour of just like everything happening, getting everybody together and just like, okay, here's what's happening. And then, oh no, the thing happened. And then,
oh no. And then,
it's just a constant escalating series of oh no's.
And then, oh fuck, oh shit. Like that last 2 hours or so was like, oh, this is written by the people that made Azure. Yeah. They were just holding back for 60 hours. I think I definitely prefer Azure. Obviously, that's like maybe my favorite one.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And I think the way in which Cold Steel 1 and Azure kind of spoil each other is super weird. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that they only say a couple things in Azure. Like they tell you, or the characters will hear, oh, this happened in Erebonia. And they do that like 3 times.
Oh, nice.
So it's like, here are these 3 plot points we want you to know about because we have already set them in stone. Whereas in Cold Steel, when they hear what's happening in Crossbell, it's way more specific because that game's already been finished and released.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would still recommend doing in order, but I get why some people would be like, hey, just do whatever. Yeah. Or I played them in English release order, which was 3rd Cold Steel, or actually, God, it was like 2nd chapter Cold Steel. Like,
oh yeah.
The weirdest way to, because 3rd didn't come out till like 2017.
Yeah.
It's sad that the English release version is so weird.
Yeah.
Because playing it,
the timing and the way everything kind of ended up. It's a series that's had a rough go of it, despite the fact, and even despite all that, it's still got like this major following now. So despite the fact that all of that shit's kind of gone to hell in a handbasket, at least at least a lot of that will be corrected hopefully by the end of the year.
I mean, they are going to do official Zero and Azure eventually.
One of them's coming out in fall, so I think it'll be probably March or April when. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I don't know how they're doing this, but like they sound like. I look at the dates they've got now, and I just don't think they're hitting all those. Like I would expect to maybe be caught up by 2025.
I mean, they kind of had completed it. Translations for Zero and Zero, like people were a little shocked when they were like,
we're not releasing it for like a year and a half. Yeah, it's a little weird. I don't know like what's going into that. I think a lot of that's probably going into like getting the Evolution versions because I think that's what they're using as the basis, and then they've got to port and they got to port them to Switch and things like that. So I'm sure there's a lot of work that goes into that. But it's still not going to be like an ideal time frame because, like I said, like October I think is when they said that like they just started taking pre-orders for the Zero stuff. So like that's going to be like October this year, and like I wouldn't expect Azure until at least March of next year. Yeah. So we're getting there, but like, you know, and then we've got to wait for Hajimari after that.
It is funny where it's like the timing doesn't work out unless you're like me and played the fan translations of Zero and Azure, and then you've got like a year and a half to play the 4 Cold Steel games, which is doable. It's conceivable that are we talking end of next year?
Maybe.
Yeah. That I could play 2, 3, and 4. Like that feels doable.
Like you can stretch this out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, what I was going to say, though, about the English release order being so wacky is because I do feel in some way every game is a sequel to the previous one where, like John said, the big thing in Zero is a plot thread they left over from Third.
Yeah.
And the way this game constantly references what's going on in Crossbell at the same time.
Yeah, because like the state of Crossbell is such an important part of why the things in the world are happening. It's such... Like the conflict over Crossbell and what's going on there and the various powers that are vying to lay their claim to it. That's the whole point of the conflict that's going on in Erebonia right now. And, you know, not having that full context is really, really rough.
Yeah. But there's one thing they tell you in Azure that happens in this game, and then... So you think it's a spoiler. I think the way they played it was really smart, where you think it's a spoiler and then you find out and then it happens and what that means and you know how it truly went down. You're just like screaming at the screen at 2 a.m. all over again.
It's like a text box in Azure.
Yeah.
And then you see it happen. It's like, oh, uh-oh.
It's a pretty big uh-oh.
It's a big uh-oh. Again, a continuous escalation of uh-ohs. Uh-oh. A lot of ICQ happening at the end of Trails of Cold Steel.
Oh my god. So my other problem with this game, though, is that the combat kind of just completely broke at some point.
Oh yeah, like it's so easy to break the Cold Steel games. Like, man, if you get an evasion tank early, you're basically not losing.
Like random battles kind of cease to exist in this game, like halfway through.
Yeah,
you get Master Quartz again, which are like the really powerful. Oh yeah, I don't want to get too much into the nitty-gritty, but they kind of revamped the Quartz system to be simpler. Because you've got 9 party members in theory, and they're switching out who is in your party every chapter.
Yeah.
You don't want to spend as fucking long setting these up.
Not worrying about element lines anymore and setting up numbers.
Here's the attack one. Here's a couple good spells. Fucking go off. Like, obviously, I do still spend a while min-maxing it. Cause
it's still easy to spend an hour and a half in the menus of those games.
Yeah. But they tried to make it simpler.
Yeah. There was an effort.
But what happened was that there's a Master Quartz that gives you CP back after killing an enemy.
Yep.
So it's like I kind of broke the game when it was at 20 CP back per enemy, and then it evolved to 25 back per enemy, which means that if I do an S-craft and it kills 4 enemies, I get 100.
You're back to having another S-craft on deck.
Yeah. So there was one time where just purely out of spite for this one strong enemy, I did an S-craft, killed all his minions, and didn't quite kill the strong enemy, and just immediately S-crafted with the same character.
S-craft again.
Like, I'm just doing 2 in a row to make sure you're dead. It's not even efficient for me because now I'm at 25. Yeah. But I just want you dead.
I remember like when After 5 played this, he got to the final boss, and literally he had so much delay on his attacks at the final. He never saw a single attack that the final boss does.
Oh god.
That's rough, because I was going to say the bosses were still fun for me. The final boss got me once at the start.
Yeah, I saw After 5 just walk into that fight. Like, he had so much delay on his equipment and just never let it have a turn.
There's some fun, big magic attacks there.
Yeah, there's some good shit.
I will say, so like by not completely breaking the game, the bosses were still fun. I was very stressed during the final boss because it was like a 20-minute fight and could kill me at any time, basically, with this one big, 999 damage attack, which is what happened the first time. And I didn't have, Adamantium Guard on everyone.
Yeah.
So, like, the bosses were still fun, but the random encounters just became S-Craft win, like, literally 9-second fights.
Yeah.
Like, because it even says in the corner, like, battle time, 9 seconds. You did one S-craft immediately and then skip the animation. Yeah, I'm continuing to enjoy that series. This one was a bit of a hike because it's characters talking about politics and taxes. Like, it kind of made me think, oh my god, this is the Star Wars Episode 1.
Oh no!
They literally are talking about tax theory. Like, one character straight up says, it is the duty of the peasant to pay nobles taxes. Or, like, it's an honor, though, to pay taxes.
Yeah,
I'm like, what the fuck is this guy smoking?
Yeah. You run into a lot of noble versus commoner bullshit in that game, which I think that's a fun dynamic.
Yeah.
I think that's a fun dynamic in a way to pit characters having conflict with one another and them having to, like, come to, like, oh, wait a minute, like, the system we're in is kind of bullshit, isn't it?
Yeah. It's definitely a game, you know, about those prejudices and, like, looking down on other people just because they're in a different social rank.
Yeah.
But then it's like, oh, you know, both factions here are kind of wrong.
They all kind of suck.
Everyone's kind of sucks.
Forge your own path. That's kind of, that's what you got to do.
I feel the next game is going to be extremely toony, so I'm very here for that.
All right. I'm happy to hear that.
Oh, there's wars happening. Reen believes in himself.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
He'll fix everything because he has power. He's got a katana.
You got big katana.
A katana is a man's soul.
It's a man's soul. Yes.
I was gonna say the duty of the peasants to pay the nobles. That's as much. That is Star Wars Episode 1. It's also Ryokishi.
Yeah.
The way, Umineko is about the noble class for sure.
Umineko is really just an inside look at the noble class. Yeah.
I think my final takeaway from this is that, like, the Trails in the Sky, those 3 games and Zero felt like the first big arc of the saga, and I think Azure and Cold Steel are like the start of the next one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because maybe that's why Zero kind of doesn't actually have a cliffhanger at the end, where it's like, it is really...
Yeah, it really just wraps that up. Yeah,
it really wraps up and then shifts gears to the Erebonia / Crossbell.
Yeah.
Shit show that happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're here for it.
It's a big old mess.
It's like a good, like it's a good fun mess, though.
Yeah.
Like, getting in there and just like, all right, we're getting dirty. Let's do it.
It is funny because at one point I'm like, because this game keeps interrupting itself with school stuff.
Yeah.
And it is funny the way it's like, it is characters trying to live their normal lives in the middle of unprecedented times.
Yeah.
Where
this constant threat of very bad things are on the horizon. And they can't do much about it because they're just going to be swept along.
So they're just hearing about awful shit happening on the radio and then being like, oh, but we've got to go prepare for our school... class festival?
Gotta go have a festival. Let the kids have their festival. The world's about to fucking end.
Yeah, it felt a little on the nose.
Boy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's a reason the Cold Steel series kind of resonated for me as I was playing it.
It's characters living in turbulent times and just trying to be like, make the best of it for themselves.
Yeah.
The school festival stuff was very cute. I greatly needed, a breather.
Yeah.
But I was also like, when Azir gave me a breather like this, shit went real south afterwards.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
and then
bad way.
Sure enough. So yeah, I struggled with that game a bit. It took me significantly longer because of the length, I wasn't going to be able to shotgun it. But it got there at the end. It kind of squeaked in at the end.
Yeah.
There's also a lot of best girls in this series.
It is. Yeah, like you kind of can feel the tone shift, and them kind of leaning more into that stuff.
I think Azure is actually a lot more anime, but Cold Steel will definitely get there. I think because besides the whole shit with Elise at the start,
there
is some anime in Azure where it's like, the whole boob grab part in that game.
Oh my god.
With the fucking sprites as well.
Lady, calm down. Gonna need you to dial it back a little, ma'am.
Yeah. I also think this game does lose some charm by switching to full 3D.
I think so too. Yeah, I really like the sprites, and like I like and especially like this is like that mid era of where they were like kind of getting more into the 3D thing. Like I think that like when they make the move to their engine that they used for 3 and 4 and East 8 and 9, like the models feel a lot better.
Gotcha. That's good to know.
Like, so I don't think
this was kind of between E7 and 8 then, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It's not bad looking. I just think when I look back at the the crossbell screenshots that I have, I'm like, oh, this is so
much
cute.
more charm. Like you look at that Tio sprite, and you want to just give it the biggest hug.
Or like the way they would use character artwork that looks better than the 3D models for like the close-ups, so you know what this character is actually supposed to look like.
Yeah.
And then in Cold Steel, it's just like, hey, here's, you know...
you got the 2D art in the menus, and I kind of wish they would have just used those instead of the talking heads next to the text boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just for your party members. For like everyone else outside the party, it's just like, oh, here's a 3D model that doesn't look as good as it did in Crossbell. I'm real curious about that next game, though.
All right, I'll just say it's an interest. That is like Cold Steel 2 is a game.
I think you and Iffy said it's your favorite Cold Steel game.
I think it is maybe. Like I think I'm still kind of landing on Cold Steel and where I would rank them, but 2 is very, very high.
It's got all the setup in the world to hit some highs for sure.
Yeah.
It had an entire game of setup.
Yeah.
Okay, I talked way too long there. Polly.
It's Trails.
It's Trails. You're allowed to. Like, Falcom gets a pass on this podcast, if you did not know.
The whole thing I was saying during Game of the Year of, like, Believe in Falcom was, like, me trying to hype myself up to push through this game.
Well, I mean, it's kind of been a lean couple of weeks for me. I didn't really get up to a whole lot. Yeah. But that said, last episode, you may remember that I played a very cool game called Transaruby.
Yay!
And you may also remember that is by our good friend Skipmore, who I absolutely love. Everybody knows that I love Skipmore. Like they're my they're my favorite. Playing Transaruby was it was an interesting experience for me because I was kind of like playing that game the whole time. I kept waiting for a shoe to drop that never did. But like, okay, where's the game going to finally fuck me over and I'm going to hate it? And I came close a couple of times. I came close to a couple of times, but it was mostly just like, oh no, okay. If I had taken that screenshot when I told myself to take that screenshot, I would have known where to go. It was when you got the ability to push blocks and that one block that you need to push to go back to the previous area to get 2 fucking tranships. Yeah, that's the only part of that game that kind of got under my skin a little bit. But what that made me do is just like, okay, I played this game and I got it. It's like, okay, I think I know what Skipmore do now. I think I know how they work. So I went back and I was like, let's just do a review, or let's do a reevaluation. I know that on the show, like John was just like, just go ahead and jump to Faerun 2. And I was like, no. I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna load up the Faerun collection again. I played Faerun Origin, which is a very cute remake of the Flash version of that game, and it is a 5-minute video game that is easy to play. And it's a funny little speed run.
It's my favorite Faerun game.
It's your favorite Faerun game. There you go. And then I was like, okay, I know what I'm doing here. No guides, nothing. Not going to look anything up. We're playing Faerun 1. So, and if you don't remember, when I played Faerun 1, I did so on stream. And I think the problem that when I played Faerun 1 was that I was playing it as something that it wasn't. I went into Faerun 1 looking at it and the way that I'd seen, it played. It was like, oh, this is East 1. And I tried to play it like that. I tried to kind of play that game with the same cues and all of the same I guess like all the same things that you would look for in the way that Ys did things, so that when like I had to walk behind a wall to do something, I just got mad. I was like, fuck that, that's stupid and arbitrary. Or like when I think the first thing that pissed me off was like I had to push a rock to open a staircase. And I was just like, fuck you, that's stupid. And the thing is, like, I carried that attitude from that moment where the game is telling me, hey, I'm this thing. I carried that forward instead of just like, I'm still going to try and play this game as the thing that I think it is. So I didn't come to Faerun 1 on its own terms, so that when I played through it and I finished it the first time, I just came out of it with a lot of resentment. So when I played Transaruby and I went into that game with more of an open heart and just kind of like looking at my surroundings a lot more, just like paying attention to every little pixel on a wall, because that's what you have to do sometimes. So then I went back and so I was like, okay, we're gonna play through Faerun 1, and I did it in under 2 hours without having to look up anything. And that's not because I remembered anything either, because I didn't. Like when I finished that game the first time, I did it out of spite, and I kind of let it all. I flushed it all out of my head. So when I played through it again this time, I was like, oh, okay, I get where to go now. I know, I see that tree there doesn't have a stump. I know where I'm going. This monitor allows me to see that specific color of pixels on the ground. I can walk through that wall. I still think walking behind the pillars is dumb. I think that's a bad way to hide progress. That one still didn't feel real good, but when I got there, I was just like, oh, I'm just gonna walk behind every pillar I fucking see. That's all I had to do there. But yeah, I played through Faerun 1, and I was like, okay, this was actually really pleasant. I liked this. This was my jam. I can dig this. So I came out of that like a real positive experience. Was like, all right, I heard that Faerun 2 is just a whole lot more of this. So let's dive in.
What a nice reappraisal. Thanks for coming back to this thing and kind of visiting it with this, like you said, like more of an open heart. Like it sounds like you had a fun time.
I did.
And I think that's really good. I think that's really dope.
Yeah, like I said, I can look at it now and understand that I didn't come to that game and I didn't try to meet it on its own terms. I just kind of wanted it to be something that it wasn't, and then I played it out of spite, just hating it for it not being what I wanted it to be, which really wouldn't really make sense for what this game's doing, because it's more of just an elaborate little puzzle box that you advance through piece by piece.
It's almost like the fighting is just kind of like flavor.
Yeah, like
really.
It's just like the fighting, like when you go play like Faerun Origin, it's pointless. You don't get experience or anything for killing anything. You just walk through and kill everything. Like there's not even a level up system in Origin. So like they put all that stuff in there as flavoring. It adds a little padding to the game. It gives enemies a reason to exist. It gives screens, like it feels fun popping enemies too, like that. It's a very satisfying sound when you do it. So. Yes. So I jumped into Faerun 2 and just kind of immediately was like, I felt it then. Like I was like, okay, I know exactly, like I know the language now, and it was almost complete. Like the only times like that I really got hung up was just my preconception of things, or when you get to the second overworld, which that's another thing that this game is like. Whereas Faerun 1 is just like one overworld, the underground that connects directly to it, and then the tower. Faerun 2 is a much bigger game with like 4 overworlds, 4 undergrounds that are completely segmented and broken up into various pieces, and you kind of like have to go back and forth and snake your way through this game's entire design. And the only time that I really got like hung up again was like my preconception of one overworld that was like it's an ice world where you gotta do sliding puzzles. But I did not find them that too terribly difficult. It wasn't too bad. Plus, like, you can't really screw up. Like, when you have to push blocks and you push a block into the place that it's supposed to go, it just locks in there even if you leave the screen and come back. So,
that's nice.
Yeah, that was a really cool thing to see happen, because like if you move a block to somewhere it's not supposed to be and you leave and you come back and it ends up in its default position, but if you push it into the spot that it's supposed to be in, the game's nice and it'll just like leave it there even if you leave the screen and come back, so you don't have to do the puzzle again. But it's just a lot more of that same Faerun flavor of being aware of your surroundings, thinking really like thinking about how your items work, like thinking about like creative ways that you could use them, looking for creative pathing through each area, and just kind of like this the way that it kind of keeps escalating as it goes, and it has like a really big and satisfying finale. A lot like Ruby, where you get to like the final area and it's doing really fucking cool things. Like there was a puzzle like when you got to the final world that like you get to this gate and it's like you need to figure out there's like a 5-number code to get in, and they make you find that code in a real interesting way that I was just like kind of gobsmacked at how clever it was. It's kind of like that moment in Ruby where you're pushing a block through and then like part of the walls kind of cut out. Yeah. It's like a 4-digit number. Like Faerun has has a couple of similar moments where it does this thing and then it does it again, and I'm standing up in my chair applauding it when it does it again because it's such a clever and cool emotional way to handle that. But yeah, like the game goes real big at the end in a way that like Faerun 1 kind of has a cute little climax too, where it does something really different at the end. And this does a similar thing, but it's also kind of got this little meta story going on behind it that I don't know landed with me the way that it was supposed to, and I don't know if it's a case of just like wonky translation or I'm just not supposed to make a lot of sense of it, but I get what they were going for. But it's just like, yeah, like it turns out Faerun is actually pretty rad and I was the dummy.
That's awesome, Polly.
Like Faerun 2 is literally the best Zelda game I've played in a long fucking time.
Oh gosh.
Like there were so many times, like there are so many stop points in Faerun 2, like, and only one of them hung me up. But like the thing that I thought was going to screw me over in the end are like you keep finding these element tablets over like on all these areas, and there's like I think there's like 8 of them in every area, and I kept thinking like, oh great, I'm just going to get I'm going to get to the end and never be able to find the one that I'm missing, and that's it. That's the end of my progress. But like that wasn't what hung me up. Like I got actually one of the fucking storage devices got me. So when I was getting ready to enter the final area, like, and I was plugging in all the storage devices, I'm missing one. Like, oh no. And like I didn't know where it could be. So I started in my most immediate surroundings, and thank God it was just like in like 1 or 2 rooms away, like in like the area where I got the final major power up, and I could just like walk through a wall and go in there and grab the final one. But like, yeah, that's the only time Faerun 2 hung me up, was just like that one little element at the end. But yeah, like just the way this game kind of sprawls and opens itself up to you is both, it feels intimidating at first, like, because it feels like it's going to be too big. It feels like you're like, you know what the kind of language they used in the first game, and you feel like if you blow that up 4 times, it's either going to get really tiring or you're going to like lose track of where you need to go. But it's so well put together that I never felt lost. I never felt like I couldn't figure out where I was, or like where I needed to go, or what I needed, or what my goal was. I never reached a point where I didn't know what I was doing or what my goal might be. Like every screen has a good tell of like, there's might be something you can do here later. And I was like, okay, I'll take a screenshot of that, come back to it later. And like that did me really well.
You're like detective working your way through the game.
It
like
felt
you're
real good.
Just kind of paying attention.
Yeah, like you start feeling real smart.
And guess what? No fucking piece of hearts.
No fucking piece of hearts. Everything you find in this game is vital. And that can be both good and bad. Because again, if you come up at the end and you're missing one of those storage devices, oh boy. The storage devices are the one. Those are the one item, like because like with the elemental tablets, you know where you get those, because those are only found in the areas like you're only going to find the forest tablets in the forest area. But like the storage devices, there's like 2 of them in the forest area, 2 of them in the ice area, and like 1 in like one in the fire area. And then it's just like, if you don't know which one you didn't get, like you would basically have to comb all of the maps, because I don't know how else you would know like what storage device you didn't get.
Mm-hmm.
They try to put them on the main like the storage devices are decently on the main progression path. Like, it's not hard to find them. It's just the one that I missed. It was probably just me being tired, because I was playing it later at night when I, just kind of already been through a day, and I'm just kind of winding down my day, and I walked right past a wall that I normally don't think I would have if I'd have had my eyeballs on a little bit more. But yeah, like, that game's just a fucking delight.
I remember specifically playing Oracle of Seasons for the first time, and just the whole time being like, "Oh, I wish this was Faerun." Oh my god.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because like all the way, like I wanted to have that explore this cool pixel world, paying attention closely experience, and I just felt like all the ways that Faerun rewarded me for that were being kind of punished in comparison.
Oh yeah, that oof, big oof. Yeah.
So Faerun just kind of became a touch point for me of like, okay, this is this kind of game that I actually like.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Like I was just kind of like it's kind of like that Celeste moment where, you come to like appreciate this thing that like you hated it first because you spite played it. Then you come back and it's like, no, this is actually super duper fucking dope. Fuck The Legend of Zelda. Like, I'm not even just saying that to make people mad. I'm not saying that because John said it. I'm legit like, Legend of Zelda is just real boring to me now. So when as I was getting my way through Faerun 2, it was lighting me up the same way that like Zelda 3 lit me up when I was playing that when I was a kid. It felt real good. It felt so cool. Real fucking good to go back and like to feel that same energy, but getting it from something new. It just felt really fucking cool. Like that is really how I would describe Faerun 2's world. Is I really think it has a lot of Link to the Past energy, but it cuts off the fat.
Yeah, I specifically I've been watching a lot of Link to the Past footage, randomizer footage, and just stuff, been having a lot of fun, like kind of remembering like, oh shit, I really liked just having a big, pretty pixel world to walk around. There's something real nice about that. There's something just real pleasing about that, I think. Yeah. And Faerun is very good at that for me.
Yeah. So hey, Transaruby kind of like opened my eyes to a company that really kind of just I was really unfair to. I mean that's really all I can say is I was really unfair to Faerun 1. Like that stream, I deleted it and everything. I was just mad.
That's wild.
I know I trashed it on the podcast when we talked about it, and now like here I am like a couple years later, just like you've gone soft.
I'm soft.
I am a plushie, so.
Shit, you did go soft.
Yeah, Faerun 2 was just, man, that really, like, it lit me up. It gave me that Link to the Past energy that I ain't felt from a Zelda game in years, and it was just so nice. Just feeling your way, like, kind of getting pushed, like pushed through that world gently, just by your own exploration, and just like, okay, these are the items I have, this is what I can do. Like, just look at one little thing, one problem at a time, keep your eyes peeled, you'll get through it, it'll be fine.
Cool, that's so awesome.
Yeah. I also played
thank you for sharing that adventure with us.
I also played Kamiko. Or
Kamiko.
That's their sort of arcadey speedrun hack and slashy kind of game.
They made an actual action game.
Yeah. Made an actual action game where, you're swinging a sword around, or you're tossing a shield around and stabbing things with a dagger, or you're shooting a bow and arrow. You get 3 characters in that game that you can play through as. The game doesn't change, and there's no like incentive to play the game all the way through with all characters. So I played through as Yamato, which is she just got big sword and hit things, and I mean, it's fine. I wasn't really wowed by it. I wasn't Like it uses a lot of similar language to Faerun, but it does it in an arcade format where it's like, yeah, there's going to be like weird walls you can walk through sometimes, or maybe some like small puzzles for you to solve, but it's mostly just about going, one area to another, getting a key, carrying that key without getting hit, and then throwing some orbs and some switches, and yeah, like it's an okay game. Like, it's $5. Like,
that was kind of my experience with it. Was just like, oh, I was really hoping for something more like Faerun 2.
Like, everybody I talked to,
review is that.
I remember asking everybody I know that played it, hey, do you know if there's any incentive at all for finishing the game with all 3 characters? And then, like, everybody I talked to is like, I only played with Yamato.
Including me.
Including John. John, Ghosty, and another friend of mine, all 3 people I know that played it, and they were all just like, yeah, I only played as Yamato, and I never played again. Like, oh, okay. That tracks. That's what I'm going to do.
Why that character specifically, you think?
I don't know. Like, I chose Yamato because I was just like I was just going to, like, play all 3 of them if there was an incentive to do it. So I was okay, I'm just going to start at the left and then move to the right. I don't know why I didn't play as Uzume. Like, there's an Uzume character. And then Hinome is basically Hope Girl from Faerun, so yeah, it's fine.
Well, you've experienced the skip more oeuvre aside from the Flash games that are gone forever.
Flash games that are gone forever, and the weird like farming thing that they're doing.
Yeah, this Frontier, but that's still in early access, and I'll think about if I want to play it.
I will never play that because I have just no interest at all whatsoever in that genre. So.
Mm-hmm.
5 years later, here's why their farming game is different from the others. It really
Stardew Valley. What?
You're not like other farming games.
Nah, like man, it'd have to be something crazy to get me into a game like that. I don't know, like what you would have to tell me that would get me into a game like that. But that's just like that ain't for me.
What if there's block pushing puzzles?
Oh god damn! Well, sign me up. God, you know how much I love those. I love how Kamiko has block pushing puzzles, but they're literally block pushing puzzles you can't fail. It's like, here, push it one way, and then it just zooms into the place that it's supposed to go.
Oh my god.
It's very funny. Hey, made this for Polly. We knew Polly was going to be by.
That would be a good joke in a game where it's like, actually, it looks like a really
complicated puzzle, and you push
just
one block.
It just bounces right to the correct position.
That's a great idea, Rhett. I'm going to have to use that in a video game now.
Yep.
5-minute break.
Yeah.
All right. We will be right back. All the no people that are watching. Go watch Freezing Inferno. Blah!
Bleh.
Blah! I'm looking at Friesen Inferno's cute new VTuber avatar. It's very nice.
Oh.
Everybody's a VTuber now, baby! It's just the world you gotta live in. When are y'all getting animated? When are y'all getting animated pings or models? When is it happening?
Never.
Never?
I'm anti-VTuber now.
Rhett, what if we hooked you up a really nice Hibiki?
Why would I want to be Hibiki?
Hibiki. Oh no. It's happening again. Hibiki. No, this is not real. Hibiki. Why am I saying? What? Beep. Hey, Raven! How's it going, Waving?
Somebody's watching.
Some good pal, Waving. Waving the VTuber. Look at Rhett. You are surrounded by VTuber pussy, and you just don't. You're swimming in it.
I have returned.
You have! How's it going? We were talking about VTuber pussy.
I caught that.
Yeah. Since nobody's watching, we just decided, hey, I wonder what that looks like. What is the anatomy of VTuber pussy?
I mean, there is that one.
I take that back. There is a VTuber that I follow that uses chatterbait, so I could probably know.
You follow Mel?
Huh?
Melody?
Oh, wait. Melody does chatterbait?
Maybe there's another VTuber who does porn now as well.
No, I don't follow big VTubers, Rhett. So
yeah.
You're probably, you're probably looking for bigger ones than I am. Is all I'm saying. I follow people relatively small. I can't keep up. I can't keep up with big VTubers. It's too much.
I'm saying there's one Project Melody was like the one doing it in like February 2020 of like, hey, I'm on Chatterbait, and all the other girls are freaking out that there's a VTuber on here.
Oh, right. No, this is another girl that I know.
Okay. So that door has been opened now, and it will never be shut again.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm here for it. Look, man, there's a market for it, okay? It's fine.
Absolutely. This is a sex positive podcast.
Exactly. I think that we've got to be one of the most sex positive podcasts, if I was being honest. Dante's going to be doing the charts and graphs for us to research the anatomy of a VTuber pussy. So we're in good hands. We got our top men are on this. Top men are on the subject of VTuber pussy, and once the results are in, you can bet that this is the first podcast where you will be hearing about it. John Thayer.
That's me.
Hey. What?
Oh shit! I should talk about media.
John, how now I know something's wrong. I call on John, and his first instinct isn't literally to just start talking about himself. Jesus Christ, my boy is really feeling it now.
Well, I played. So remember in December, the great RPG abstaining of December 2021.
I remember you doing that.
Yeah, I finished Evenical. Let me see here. Let me pull up the records.
The official records on the Evenical playthrough.
I finished it. I knew exactly when it was December 6th. I finished Evenical, and then I decided. I ran the numbers, and I had played through 12 RPGs that year.
That's a lot of RPGs.
12 full-length RPGs, like 20-plus hour RPGs in 2021.
And it was your favorite one.
And Evenical was absolutely my favorite one. We ended on a high note, but hey, y'all.
It's so much.
That's too many fucking RPGs.
It's so many RPGs, John. It's much different than diving into a 100-hour visual novel series.
Visual novels are different because they're better.
You got a point. I'm not gonna be the one arguing that point.
So I finished Evenical, and and also I didn't play any long VNs last year. It was just games where you have to fight a lot of random encounters.
Right.
Yeah.
Over and over. And so I played a lot of them, and a lot of them left me pretty cold, which didn't help.
Right.
So I abstained. While over Christmas, I spent 20 minutes and started up Disgaea and was like, this is it. I'm going to get into Disgaea. And then I was like, I got to the first fight and I was like, remembered it was an SRPG. It was like, nope. No Disgaea for John. Thank you very much. No. This world seems cute, but I'm not here for this. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Disgaea requires a mindset that I just don't have, I don't think.
I don't know what the mindset is. I think it is I think it might be being sadder than I am right now for me.
Okay, yeah. Like John is sad, but he's not Disgaea sad yet.
I'm not Fate Grand Order sad either. I almost booted up Fate Grand Order. That was about where I was at the start of January.
Pretty bottom of the barrel there. That's pretty rock bottom.
I've got 2 more arcs of Fate Grand Order. I have the Babylon, which has my goddess in it, and I've got the final arc of the first season, and then hopefully my soul will be at peace after that, and I can let go of gacha games forever.
Right.
But I didn't play that. I didn't play Fate Grand Order. I was like, I want to play an RPG on my phone, but I don't want to play Fate Grand Order.
No.
And it came to me in a flash. It had been over a month since I played an RPG, and the time was ripe. And I said, I want to play the Pixel remaster of Final Fantasy III.
Oh, hey, those I've heard lot of good buzz about them. Their Pixel remasters. Yeah,
so that's the thing. Well, first off, I've never played Final Fantasy III all the way through. I actually got what I'm realizing was very far into it, like 2/3 through as a kid, and then I borked my save file because instead of saving with ins and whatnot, I was just dropping a save on my I was playing it on my DS on NES DS. I just dropped a save state, and then I dropped a save state right before the Garuda fight.
Oh, that's bad.
It was real bad. I was just like, I'm going to switch everybody to Dragoon, and I'm going to be, and we're going to be good to go. And then I got into the fight, and I was not prepared.
Yeah, there's no recourse for that.
My last actual save was like hard save was like 10 hours earlier, and I was like, well, that's the save file. Sorry.
Oh.
So I did not finish Final Fantasy III, but I did get a good sense of like the flavor of it. The pacing, the art. Final Fantasy III NES is fucking gorgeous.
Hell yeah, it is.
That is an all-time. That is just absolute breathtaking NES game. Like you can. It feels so much of the flavor of like Final Fantasy IV was there in Final Fantasy III. Yeah. Just like
it's already there. Yeah, the just everything about Final Fantasy III on NES is just like that game feels like the first time where they really got what they were going for in terms of getting Final Fantasy its own unique identity, I think.
Yeah, like I think Final Fantasy 1 is still fucking great because it's just like this very good classic dungeon crawler. Like I think it probably pulls a lot from Wizardry, and I think it's great at being that. Final Fantasy 3 feels like Final Fantasy, and that's one of my favorite things. I kind of forgot. Yeah. Final Fantasy is one of my favorite things. 4 was one of my first RPGs. I replayed 5, 6, and 7 pretty recently and loved all of them. I love like 4 through 7 is like one of my favorite runs of RPGs ever. And I hadn't played 3 somehow.
Oh, yeah.
And then Final Fantasy 3 is just, so I played through the whole thing on the Pixel remaster. And just speaking about the game itself, like the core Final Fantasy 3 there, like, this is exactly that. It's setting the stage for all those other things I love in Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, 7. Like, it is a series of cool set pieces and original clever boss designs and encounters and gimmicks and cute one-off interactions and weird shit. It's got so many memorable moments and weird things about its setting, like how the first 10 hours takes place on like, well, I played on the Pixel remaster, so like the first 6 hours takes place on this floating continent, and then you finally get an airship that lets you just fly off the edge, and you're suddenly in this massive world map that is mostly empty water. It's very cool.
Hell yeah.
So like, oh, remember when Final Fantasy VII had the whole first chunk of the game in this one section, and then you expand and realize there's a whole world map outside of that. Like, oh shit, they did that. There's just so much fun. Like the way it doesn't feel so much focused on like the resource management dungeon crawl. That's still definitely a huge part of it.
Oh, for sure.
But now it feels like this is the dungeon where you have to cast mini on everybody and switch everybody to magic mage classes because
that shit. That's absolutely fun as hell.
This is the boss where the NPCs are saying, Garuda is weak against the dragoons jump right beforehand, and the shops all have dragoon equipment, and you're like, what should I do here? There's the boss that switches weak points. This is the first like Final Fantasy weak point switching boss.
Yep.
So you switch one of the characters to Scholar so they can scan what the weakness is. It's so like there's so much. There's enemies that if you hit them with anything other than specific attacks, they multiply.
Mm-hmm.
God, what else? There's just like all these cute gimmicks. The bosses feel like meaningful. They are frequent and differentiated in a way they had not been prior. Mm-hmm. It feels like they're setting the stage for like all the cool bosses in 4 and 5. Mm-hmm. The final boss it just uses one really strong AoE move every single turn. It fucking rules. Just rips ass. And hey, you remember in Xenogears where the final boss
rip ass?
It whipped ass
every turn.
Is rip ass right?
Did it slap butt?
Is rip ass anything? Did I make that up?
No, the kids say slap butt now. No, it's a smack butt. Smack butt.
I know whip ass is something, but I think rip ass is
smack
something.
butt, John. It's smack butt.
I bet I'm right.
No. You are not the cool hip with it teenager that you were a year ago, John.
That's true. I'm like
Raven Gifta says ripping ass is when you got a nasty fart.
Well, it is awesome.
It rips ass, but it's a good fart. You're just like, you get it. Like, man, I am stuffing my face between them cheeks. That smells like tacos. It's just me, isn't it? Just me?
So just like Xenogears, the final boss has 4 sub-bosses around it, and you want to fight those sub-bosses because fighting them dramatically weakens the main boss. But it's still very hard.
Yep.
Just kind of makes it possible, essentially. And then all those bosses are awesome and differentiated. Like this is the first, like this is the Final Fantasy final like boss gauntlet, where there's just a bunch of cool new bosses in the last dungeon. Like I was just in love with this game. Like I just had I felt completely at home. I was playing just classic, awesome Final Fantasy.
Like perfect essence Final Fantasy, really. Just the pure distilled shit. Slap it in my veins. Let's go.
Yep. I will say, dungeons are a little lame.
Yeah, I remember not liking the dungeon designs much at all.
Like Final Fantasy 1 has these massive, very differentiated dungeons. Like the one that my brain goes back to is Gurgu Volcano.
Yeah.
Every floor of that dungeon looks really different. Mm-hmm. Like there's all these completely different shapes.
They did enough to make them.
How they set up that world.
They did enough to make them feel like places. Is the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And
these
they
are
feel
just
like places, and they're. Go ahead.
And Final Fantasy 3 maps are like I opened RPG Maker and pressed the randomize button.
It's almost not even that, where it's like there's barely any. There's like. Every dungeon is a straight line, and then it is a straight line that will splinter off for one short path that then terminates in a treasure chest. Mm-hmm. Like it is that, and it pretty much stays that the entire game.
Yeah.
Like Final Fantasy 1 was more varied and interesting in the shapes, and also it just felt like a little more sprawl. Like I guess it was like you do this floor, then you do this floor, then you do this floor. Like a Dragon Quest, it will be like jumping back and forth between all these different floors, more of a real maze, essentially.
Yeah.
And you just don't get that you definitely don't get that in Final Fantasy 3.
No.
And Final Fantasy like 5 and 6 and 7, the dungeons are all really linear. Chrono Trigger, the dungeons are all really linear, but they're full of like cool set pieces and unique moments and scripted bits. Mm-hmm. So they're like full, like the final dungeon in 5 is just a straight line, but there's like 7 bosses.
Yeah.
That all have like cute introductions and their own little story and then their own really creative gimmick. And there's a bunch of little puzzle bits and there's all this stuff going on so that the straight line is not boring.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 3, they haven't really done that yet. And I feel like 4's dungeons are just like a little bit deeper, a little bit more willing to break from that. And 4 also just has the verticality stuff where you're going up and down stairs in the same room. Mm-hmm. So that they don't feel as flat. Then Final Fantasy 3's dungeons feel very flat.
Yeah.
So all those things together, I feel like that's kind of a weakness here, is that the dungeon mapping is not very enthralling.
Yeah.
The actual arc of getting through the enemy encounters and then the boss at the end is always really good. But I didn't particularly like that bit about it. Somebody pointed out that Final Fantasy II's dungeons are just like those feel like you just pressed randomize on RPG Maker, because they're way more sprawling and there's a lot more paths and whatnot, and also every map feels the same.
Yeah.
In Final Fantasy
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
So Final Fantasy 3 felt like, okay, we're going to be a little more focused. We're not going to waste your time, but we're also not going to do anything good either. So that's kind of my screed there on the mapping. It was nice. It helped me kind of think about what I want out of RPG mapping. So Final Fantasy 3 is very good. I'm excited. I'll probably play the NES version someday. If you get elixirs in the base game, so in the Pixel remaster, you get you can heal your HP and MP after every fight before the final boss, which, as I understand it, was an addition.
Yeah.
But I had so many elixirs. I had like 15 or so elixirs, which healed up the spell slots.
Yeah.
If those are in the original game, then I think I probably would have been fine even without that, honestly. Because I could have just refilled like one of the healers and then healed everybody up and been good as new with like one of my 15 elixirs.
I'm not sure that the original game has that many elixirs, but I have not played that game in almost 20 years. So
all right, so here's the Pixel remaster stuff. The nightmare is that it's going to be like Final Fantasy Dawn of Souls.
Yeah.
Because Dawn of Souls, for Final Fantasy 1, it took out the spell slots, gave everybody MP, and then in like the 4th town, you can buy ethers for 150 gold. Mm-hmm. Like there's no resource management. You just have infinite MP.
Yeah.
But their random encounters are still just as frequent.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Super fun, awesome, love that. That's definitely a good way to play Final Fantasy 1. The ideal is that it plays like Final Fantasy Origin, which rebalance things, has like quality of life changes that are nice, but is still, the essence is still there. I think the Pixel remaster probably falls a lot closer to the Origin side of things as far as the balancing is concerned. The big thing that completely borks the balancing is that you can quick save anywhere you want.
Oh, yeah.
And you even auto save like every time you enter a room, but you can also just completely ignore that if you want.
Yeah,
like
you don't have to use those options. No.
Mm-hmm. Like it's there, and so that's going to annoy some people. Mm-hmm. But you can just opt out of that. That is not a non-ignorable balance change. So if you want the hard ass save and then do the whole thing in one go and then beat the boss, like you can still play it that way.
Cool.
I'm sure you get a lot more. I grind. the nice thing for me is that I got my ass kicked quite a few times. Mm-hmm. Like I got to several bosses and was like, they beat my ass, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna go grind for a little bit, and I'm gonna go fiddle with my jobs and see if there's some new equipment I can get, and then come back in and try it again. And that was very satisfying. Like however they rebalanced it, they basically just kind of made it feel like a normal good RPG.
Right.
Is kind of how it felt to me. Like it never felt like I had to grind too much. It always was just like, okay, I'll just do a little bit here. And then the game like stayed tense up through the very end. Like, am I going to be okay for the final boss? I don't know. Let's hope for the best. And then I beat it. And it was very pleasing. You can't buy elixirs. You can't buy ethers. They take out the penalty for swapping a job. In the original NES version, you have to spend current. You get CP. You get like a special currency.
Yeah.
That you spend to change jobs, and that is stupid.
Yeah, it's not conducive to experimenting. Like Mary Skelter has a similar thing where you have to earn job rights, and I hate it.
Yeah, and then apparently in the DS remake, you get like job change sickness. So for like a certain number of fights after you change jobs, you're just like at half stats.
Oh my god!
And guess what? That's even stupider.
That's real dumb.
Because when you're changing a job, you're changing it because I want to fight this boss that needs this specific job now. So the summoning sickness is just like, oh well, okay, now I have to arbitrarily fight 6 fights when I could have just fought the boss. So that's even dumber.
Yeah.
This game just lets you swap whenever. And I think that's a change that takes out none of the interesting frictions of the original.
Yeah, like that's not an interesting friction. It's just dumb.
Yeah. Something I don't like is that there's job levels.
Right.
So in Final Fantasy V, you're building character builds.
Yeah.
Like they're learning things. They're becoming. You are building them. They're becoming like following certain archetypes. The abilities you teach them shape how you use them in fights, and you're generally not changing your jobs to deal with one specific encounter.
Not a lot, no.
Like it's a way to build the kind of party you want. In Final Fantasy 3, the whole point is that you're changing jobs constantly.
Yeah.
You need a Dark Knight for this dungeon. You need to all be spellcasters for this dungeon. You need a scholar for this dungeon.
Yeah, like the job system is the big thing, and they wanted to make it a big part of the main progress of the game.
Yeah, and I think that the job levels don't really add anything.
No, it's just kind of arbitrary numbers.
Yeah, like it lets you deal a little more damage. It makes you, like if you're a healer class, your healing does more. But your main stats are still only affected by your main level. And I looked, and this was in the original. And I just think it's a bad idea. I think that would have been better to.
Yeah, I was never a fan of it.
Mm-hmm. It was never obtrusive. Like it doesn't seem like the job levels honestly matter that much.
No.
And the big worry for me was that I wouldn't have enough time to level up the sage and ninja classes at the end, and I had plenty. I got to a perfectly nice level by the end.
Nice.
So the job levels didn't really matter. I just was annoyed that they were there at all. So yeah, the balancing, like you can't just buy ethers, you can't just buy elixirs, so spell slots don't matter. You get a lot of spell slots, like you get like 30 to 40 level 1 and 2 spell slots.
Yeah.
So it's not like Final Fantasy 1 where you're just kind of like, you just chill in the back there, y'all. Let the fighters take care of this for.
Yeah, you can actually make magic, a key part of your arsenal, and not feel like you're wasting precious resources.
Yeah. And again, I don't know how much the elixirs are a part of the original game, but if they're at all as plentiful as I ended with like 12 extras in my inventory, so if they're anywhere near as plentiful in the NES game, then I think the last gauntlet is probably pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the balance, like however they doubled the numbers or whatever, it wound up with it just feeling like this is not a really hard ass classic NES game.
No.
But what it does feel like is a good, fun RPG.
Yeah.
However they babied it up, like it left me very satisfied with it as just a game. And also you get a run button, you can run. The interface is all cleaned up. Like I said, you don't have to spend currency to change jobs.
Yeah.
You have a map. The end result is that it's a game that flows very quickly. I finished with I think 13 hours.
Oh wow!
It was like 12 or 13.
That's pretty good. I remember that. I remember any iteration of Final Fantasy typically taking 20-25 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that's the same. So you haven't finished a long JRPG this year, because you said 20 earlier.
That's true. When I replayed Final Fantasy IV on Advance, my last time was like 14 hours. I think once you pull back on the numbers just a little bit, and you pull back on the numbers, you give a run button, and then
the run button especially makes things a lot nicer.
Mm-hmm. So this is just like I wanted to play Final Fantasy III for a long time. I was not ready at any point for what I knew was going to be a pretty long and grueling classic hard RPG.
Yeah.
Because with Final Fantasy I, I can play the Origins version. With 3, there was no real option. There was the DS remake, which is completely different and ugly.
Yeah.
And I don't want to play it.
I played through it, and it just kind of is in one ear and out the other game for me, basically.
Mm-hmm. So it was that or the NES version.
Yeah.
And what the Pixel remaster was just like, I want to play Final Fantasy III Origin. I want to play Final Fantasy III Advance. And I got that. I got that exactly.
Nice.
And it was just a fucking blast. I just had so much fun.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. If you're playing it on phones, there's a couple interface things. Like, obviously, the font is really, really small.
Oh, the font's really bad. At least you can...
Yeah.
I know that, like, when John started, he was like, I don't want to hear anybody say shit about the fonts.
Because it was all people talked about.
Dude, the font is so
very bad.
It's very the most fucking bad.
Like, it came out, and everyone was just like, oh, all these sprites are hideous. Look, I've mathed out why these sprites are less appealing than the original sprites.
The only shit that I saw was the only things I ever saw about these pixel remasters on my timeline was, holy shit, this music fucking slaps, and oh my god, this font is from a book.
And I was just like, okay, I was like, my time I was really, really negative when they got announced. It was like,
that's real. Well, I mean, you follow a bunch of people.
Grim.
You follow a bunch of people that look at it and go, what if Chrono Trigger's bad? Actually, you have a lot of people like that on your timeline. So
that's true, and I cherish and I love them to bits.
Someone has to,
and I love them to bits. But I was just kind of like, why are you being mean? These look nice. And then I played it, and I was like, oh yeah, this fucking ruled.
Yeah, I'm like 100% okay with the game's graphics and like the way that they did the sprites. It's just the font I think is miserable. But
yep, and I just got used to it because like it never like it's definitely too small. But I was on my phone, so I couldn't mod it or anything. So so I just got used to it, and it was fine. The one big thing is that this game relies a lot on hidden passages.
Oh,
in the wall.
Yeah.
Which I love. I loved it in 4. I loved it in 5.
Way to rip off Faerun, am I right?
Am I right? Now, the thing is, this game has 2 control options, and that's tap to move. You just tap on the spot, and then they pathfind over to that spot.
Yeah.
And you have a joystick. You have a virtual joystick.
Which are always fantastic.
So I liked the tap to move option.
Yeah.
But this is probably the only way they could have done it. The tap to move pathfinding does not account for hidden passages.
It can't go through hidden passages. Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I tap right in front of where I know the hidden passage is because they're all telegraphed.
And then
I switch to the joystick.
Wait.
and then move through the passage, and then I get out and I switch back to tap to move.
So you can't complete the game with tap to move.
No.
That's kind of horrific.
Yeah, it's kind of dumb.
But I mean, what's the alternative? Like, it just completely makes, if you can tap to move in, if you just, there's another area that's separated by an invisible pathway, and then you tap on that area, and then your character is like, oh, there's the invisible pathway. Like,
well, from the character's perspective, they should be able to see it.
They should be able to see. I think that would be a totally fine solution.
I don't know. It was weird, and it's only going to be weird on the phones.
Right,
and
yeah.
nobody listening to this is going to play it on their phone.
Nobody's playing these on the phones except John.
Yeah. So I liked it a lot. And then I immediately started Final Fantasy IX because that also has a phone port.
Jeez.
Oh boy.
I've only played a little bit of it, but I'm excited because I love Final Fantasy again, and I forgot how much I love Final Fantasy.
I love Final Fantasy. I just don't have a lot of love in my heart for Final Fantasy IX.
Well, the one thing is that
I don't have a lot of hate in my heart for Final Fantasy IX. Let's put it that way.
Well, the big things here, the phone version has a fast forward option.
Oh, you're playing it on the phone.
Yeah, I'm playing it on phone. I was thinking about playing it elsewhere, but I realized I wanted to play it on my phone.
Right.
That's the only way I want to play any RPGs ever, actually. If it's not on phones, then it doesn't exist to me anymore.
See you, Trails.
Is it? So
See
wait,
you, East.
What about it? No. The most important one, Eventicle 2.
See you, Eventicle 2.
Good point.
Yeah.
Eventicle was the worst one.
Gotcha.
Eventicle was the worst one because like it's not just you can't play it on your phone. Eventicle, you have to use the mouse. So I played a 50-hour game with the mouse, which is completely unheard of for me. That's how much I enjoyed that game.
Did they make it so you can play with one hand?
Absolutely.
They better have.
Oh wait, did it? Oh, I see.
Or else, what's this fucking game for?
So that was my Final Fantasy. I'll hopefully have more Umineko and more Final Fantasy adventures.
I look like that. It looks like your next few episodes for the show are a little planned out.
Yeah, I'm pretty pleased. I'm in my.
You got a whole.
I'm in my Ryukishi Final Fantasy happy place right now.
You got a happy hole.
What's that fucking meme? The AC is on. He has Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy and Umineko.
He is safe and happy.
I play Final Fantasy when I'm having a bad day, but John, you play Final Fantasy every day. God, so that's been my adventures.
All right. Rat.
Hi.
Hey, Rat.
I've got an adventure.
Yeah.
Like Cold Steel, this is a game I started in November.
Oh, jeez.
And this one I haven't finished yet.
Oh, dear.
I kept being like, oh, the next area is probably the last one for like 4 areas in a row. And I'm like, oh, actually it was half the game, huh? I've been playing Half-Life Alyx.
Oh, wow. Yeah, you've been playing this.
Which has its own saga of, Rhett, how are you playing Half-Life Alyx?
How are you playing Half-Life Alyx?
I bought a VR headset for the PC.
All right.
Yeah.
You did it.
Which you two are keenly aware of for various reasons.
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. You're talking about Half-Life all the fucking time. Just won't shut up about it. It's the game of the year.
I do all my Half-Life tweets at like 5 a.m. and only John sees them. It's very cute. So I did not get the Valve Index, though.
No.
That's the $1,000 premium Valve headset that kind of launched alongside this game.
Yeah.
I got, just for anyone curious, I got the HP Reverb G2 on a Black Friday sale, so it was under half the price of the Index.
The deal you got on that was actually pretty incredible.
And apparently they like did a stealth revision over the summer, and I'm pretty sure I have the stealth version too, which
nice.
like changed a few very minor things about like the cord. But like they didn't even give it like a new product number. Like people have a real hard time telling which one they have.
Oh, so it's one of those like you can't really tell.
It's like something about the tracking is better now, and it's like, well, if I have the GNU one, good. like cool, but
Things
I'm
seem
not
to be
gonna
working at least.
Yeah, it seems to be working. So VR on the PC though is a whole thing.
Is the saga.
It's weird. So in the beginning, there was the Oculus. I think the Oculus Rift was kind of the first big consumer VR headset. Mm-hmm. So everything was made for the Oculus.
Yeah.
And then there was like the Vive, which is the one Valve got behind. And then there was the Index, which is like the actual Valve made one. And then, there's been other versions of the Oculus. And now there's the Oculus Quest, which is like also Oculus has their own storefront. And then they got bought by Facebook. And like, there's weird compatibility shit is what I'm saying, is that Resident Evil 4 VR is only for the Quest 2. Because fuck everybody else, I guess. And like, I remember when Oculus was kind of the main one, people were like finding ways to buy games on the Oculus store and then run them on other headsets using like compatibility stuff. And then there's like having GameCube emulators in VR using, compatibility layers and like running like Unreal Engine games through compatibility software to get them in VR. There's just a world of headache out there, basically. And like this, so the headset I got is not an Oculus or an Index or a Valve supported one. It is a thing called Windows Mixed Reality, which I had not heard of until I bought this.
I had not heard that either.
So basically, there was this turf war between Oculus and Valve, and Microsoft came in and said, "Me too." That's basically exactly what happened. So now there's 3. Now there are 3 competing standards. So luckily, they play nice with Valve as much as they can, is from what I can tell.
Okay.
So like Steam VR there's a program, the one I use on Steam is called like Windows Mixed Reality for Steam VR. You launch that, and it will simultaneously launch the Windows Mixed Reality app and Steam VR at the same time in a way that they will communicate with each other. The reason that they can't just do native Windows Mixed Reality in Steam VR is because they have completely opposite tracking methods. The way the Index and like PlayStation...
Weird. Okay.
Yeah. So the way the
technology...
Yeah, basically there's like lighthouse tracking and there's inside out tracking. What that means is that like the PlayStation VR looked at you with a camera. So it just saw you, and the camera didn't have a particularly wide field of vision. The Index uses a similar thing where you have these devices that you put in your room, and it like scans the whole thing with lasers to see where you are.
Right.
So basically those are 2 technologies where the cameras look at you. The headset I have is the opposite, where the cameras are in the headset and they look around the room to do your... the cameras look around the room and like to measure like distance, like it measures the floor and stuff and goes, yeah. And I think that's how the Oculus Quest 2 works as well, is where it has cameras inside, because that thing is just a headset. Like it doesn't connect to a PC or anything. Mm-hmm. So in general, people want that technology, the one where it's just like, hey, the cameras are in the thing and you can use it anywhere. But the tracking isn't quite as good, is the thing. Like having the cameras, like the lighthouses that the Valve uses, those are like the real shit, like for perfect tracking. So the problem is that, like you have these technologies that work differently. And then on Steam, like games will say like, oh, it's VR compatible. What does that mean? Oh, it works with the Oculus, the Valve, but not the Windows Mixed Reality ones. So like there's different like compatibility tabs on the storefront, which I'm very thankful for, because boy, you don't want to buy something and then,
for like however much, like,
yeah. Because on the Steam sale, I was like looking at stuff like, this better work, because I'm not going to play it for 2 weeks and then they don't want you refunding it. Mm-hmm. The weirdest one I saw is that the game Galgun has VR versions. So
extremely good. All right.
So there's the original Galgun and then Galgun Double Piece. And then they released a third game called Galgun VR on Steam.
Okay.
that one works with all three platforms, Valve Index or Oculus and Windows Mixed Reality. But and people said that game is like, it's a test bed for what they're building into Galgun 2. Galgun 2 comes out with a VR mode, does not support the headset I have. For some reason, whatever happened between VR and 2, they took out official support for Windows Mixed Reality. So a whole bunch of the Steam reviews are like, hey, here's how you can get it working. And they link, executable, like, compatibility stuff. And I'm just like, nope, fuck it. If it doesn't work out of the box, you don't want to fuck with it. Yeah.
I think that's fair.
But it's just like, two games in the same series by the same developer, on both on Steam. One works, one doesn't. That's weird.
Yeah.
So like VR in general feels like the nightmare of PC gaming that people who don't PC game always kind of think it's like. It's like taking that and actually making it real. Because it's basically like, what if some games worked on NVIDIA cards only?
Oh, that's fantastic. Which I'm sure that's something they've tried to do for years.
Yeah. But, like, which headset you buy...
The consolidation of computers. Like, that's definitely, like, that's some people's ideal.
Yeah, but that's definitely is what happens in the VR space because of the technology where it's like, oh, this game only works on Oculus Quest 2, while this game only works on the Valve Index. Cool.
Yep.
But again, like... when you first install like the Windows Mixed Reality thing, it shows you a little teaser video, and Half-Life Alyx is like the first game in it. Like they are at least kind of on one side clearly, where they are doing what they can to work with Valve on stuff. So Half-Life Alyx, it's very cool. I don't think it's like hundreds of dollars cool, but it's like, hey, if you're buying a VR headset for PC, obviously,
like this is kind of like
this one.
Yeah, this sounds like the big tent game that if you're if you need that AAA $60 video game experience and you need it out of your headset, you're not going to get it much else, but you will get it from Half-Life Alyx.
I mean, there's basically no other games that have had this level of production value put into it. Like, that's the thing that really kind of blows me away about this consistently, is that it's gorgeous. Like, because I've done VR on the PlayStation VR, which is, PS4 was getting a little long in the tooth, and then you have to scale things way back for VR. Like, everything was like the really stylized games like Super Hot or like Rez looked really cool. And then you play something like Skyrim that goes for a more realistic art style. And it's like, oh, I'm inside like a PS2 remake of Skyrim.
Oh, no.
Like, anything that tried to have, air quote, good or realistic graphics looked worse than like the really heavily stylized stuff. Like Super Hot, that's already looks like polygons. Like, that's the art style. It looks fine in VR.
Yeah.
Alyx looks so much better than I remember Half-Life 2 looking. Like, obviously, it is actually a big upgrade, but I remember when it was first announced, I was like, oh, they're going to make Half-Life 2 VR cool. And it's like, oh, no. They made, a modern-day Half-Life, what you'd expect that to look like, and then it's also in VR, and you're actually there.
Does this feel like Half-Life 3?
No, because it's a prequel. Oh. It is set between 1 and 2.
1 and 2, right.
I've heard the ending goes crazy. I don't know what that means. I always have my brain just always went to, oh, there's going to be some time travel shenanigans so that they can continue the story.
They've got to connect the story somehow. Yeah.
I don't know because I haven't beaten it. Because they're like, the story is pretty simple. It's like, oh, you're going to this thing to do the thing, and I keep thinking, oh, because they show you a little map between levels, and I'm like, I'm almost at the thing. The next level will be like it's not the Citadel, it's some other thing. Story is kind of whatever. There's a lot of talking characters at the start of this game. It did remind me of
Half-Life 2.
It reminded me maybe even more of like episode 1 in a bad way.
Like the worst part.
Yeah. That has significantly eased up in back half of the game, so I don't want to rag on that too much.
Good.
There's a part, but also VR is just naturally cool. So like when a Vortigaunt talks to you and he's like 7 feet tall or something.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of rad.
And he's really close to you, and you're just like you're wincing, and because this intimidating, gigantic alien is standing in front of you talking.
Yeah.
There's there's so much to say about this game, and I kind of don't know where to start. Where like it's very diverse in what you're doing, because it's like for a lot of it, it's primarily kind of a survival horror game, really, where you're very fragile, you're very strapped for ammo. You don't have a whole lot of weapons, especially early on. You kind of just have the pistol. So the first few Combine encounters, like, again, the ramp up is very similar to Half-Life 2, where it's like, oh, head crabs, zombies, those things that drop down from the ceiling, you know, with the little tentacle, and then they grab you.
Yeah, barnacles.
Barnacles, that's it. So those things, they changed barnacles a little bit. They don't only do damage when they lift you all the way up. They just immediately start doing damage because
they can
in
strangle
the settings, they strangle you now.
Yeah.
But the reason is because if they actually lifted you up, for some people, they're immediately going to get motion.
That'd get you some real bad motion sickness.
So that's a toggle. I have it turned on, of course.
Yes, that's what I would want. That's what I would want.
But it is very disorientating being lifted up and be like, oh, fuck. Like, they're not a very hard enemy, but a couple times I've gotten caught without seeing it, and like, oh, fuck. And then you're pointing your arm straight up to shoot it, and then you're like, oh, fuck, I have to reload. And like, the reload animations are all manual.
Oh, that's so good.
So that's kind of the coolest thing about this game is like adding a lot of like physical tacticality to almost everything that they can, except there's no melee weapons, which seems like a survival horror part of it.
You don't have a fucking crowbar? Are you kidding me?
Alex does not wield the crowbar. Gordon Freeman wields the crowbar.
Oh, right. How could I forget?
I think the reason for it, though, is because the default movement is teleport, and I never liked teleport movement in VR.
Right.
So I pretty immediately just shifted it to left stick moves you.
Yeah.
Like move forward and strafe, and then you can turn with the right stick.
Yeah.
And the turning is like 15 degrees at a time, so you don't get motion sick, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like, compared to how nearly barfy I've gotten with some PlayStation VR games, like this one hasn't gotten me that badly.
Yeah.
Which I didn't expect when I turned on the smooth walk animations. What's weird though is that I think the smooth walking makes it easier than it should be, because like if you're a little more grounded to where you're standing and a zombie's walking up to you, like you're gonna have to turn around and then teleport, then turn back to keep shooting it.
Oh yeah, that'd be just weird. Like,
I'm just walking up to it, getting really close, but like just out of melee range, and then just kind of tapping the stick backwards to walk backwards. So like zombies are very easy.
Yeah.
Because you can just have much more fine control over.
Yeah.
You're keeping your distance, which is I think why they don't have a melee attack, because it would be probably really trivial.
It'd make it way too easy.
Because I think in general the enemies aren't, besides the zombies obviously, because that's the thing they do, enemies don't really rush up on you.
Right.
Probably because of how the movement works.
Yeah.
Like I think every time a Combine has like whacked me, it's because I kind of ran up to them. Like they seem to want to keep their distance. I had one moment though where it's like I'm in a bus and there's like a couple Combine outside shooting at me, and I moved forward to like exit the bus to kind of rush them down, and again apparently because I was hidden, their AI had also decided to enter the bus.
Oh.
So we like bumped into each other at like the door, and it scared the shit out of me. Because all of a sudden you just bump into like this full-size guy, and you're both pointing guns at each other. And it's like,
just real fucked up. That's fucked up.
There was another moment of like, I guess it was a bus too, or like I think it was a large truck. Me and a Combine guy are on opposite sides of it, strafing around it, and I'm just shooting through the windows, like trying to hit him. It was like one of the coolest action movie things I've ever done in a video game.
Nice. Yeah, VR definitely heightened that moment.
VR is fucking crazy at times. Like, the end of the last chapter I did was like a shitload of antlions.
Oh, good.
Those are in this game too. They hold them back till pretty late.
Yeah, they're scary.
Hey, I did not realize how fucking big they are up close.
Yeah, they're really big.
They're fucking big. But again, they don't seem to really rush you down. It's like they like kind of spit at you from a distance.
Yeah.
But then when there's like 5 of them.
Oh dear.
It's scary. Those are a real clever enemy too, because they kind of changed how they work. They have really weak limbs now.
Oh, okay.
So it's like Dead Space. You got to shoot the limbs off.
Limbs off, yeah.
And then they'll start fucking limping towards you.
Boy, Dead Space VR would be fucked up.
Yeah. God, there's the Wii game. I wonder if anybody got that working in VR. They probably did.
They probably did, yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, the combat is hard. It's like very swift and violent, which I think makes sense for VR.
Yeah.
So that as I get towards the end of the game and the combat encounters get like significantly longer, it's like just feels kind of crazy, where it's like dealing with a bunch of antlines, a different type that like shoot projectiles at you, and a couple Combine soldiers. You feel pretty badass coming out of that relatively unscathed. Yeah. So I remember like I did die the first. So my first attempt on that, it's like, okay, there's a shitload of antlines over there. I don't have any handgun ammo left. Oh. I'm just going to kind of rush them with the assault rifle, spray and pray, hit the legs, hope this works out. So I start running forward. Click. Oh, I forgot to load the gun.
Oops.
So then I'm backing up trying to load the gun while all these antlines are rushing me, and I'm like, oh, fuck this. You really fucked this up, buddy. Second attempt, I'm like hiding behind a wall trying to snipe one of the Combine guys, and he's shooting at me as well, and I die in like 2 seconds.
Oh,
it's like, oh, yeah. You're just very fragile.
Yep.
So what I'm saying is that the gunplay is good, but they do mix it up a lot.
Yeah.
So that it's not actually a ton of shooting.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this game is just hunting through environments, looking for ammo, looking for like the weapon upgrade material that's new to Half-Life, obviously. Right, there's a few modern conveniences of like, hey, there's like this, it's called resin, like this upgrade thing that they kind of sprinkle around to get you to look around the environments. And then, now your shotgun can also shoot a grenade, which is very cool.
Okay, that's rad.
Yeah, the upgrades are definitely fucking worth it. Like now your assault rifle has a laser sight, which really changes the combat when you're like, oh, I can just, because aiming in VR is so fucking hard. Like actually hitting something with a gun when it's far away. Did not realize video games really help you out on that a lot, huh?
Yeah, they make guns seem real simple.
Because like at the very start of this game, when you just have the pistol, I'm closing one eye to like use the little, crosshair thing on the top of the gun to make my shots hit.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you have to close one eye so that to make the image 2D so that you can line it up better.
Oh, that's fucking cool though.
And then later on, you get kind of a laser sight that kind of shows you a dot, but it's still like easier to use with one eye.
Right.
So like, there's definitely an escalation of like extremely slow sniping a single head crab to I'm going to war with the Combine one person army.
Let's go.
Excellent.
It is kind of funny though, of like music in a game like this is weird because like it's not diegetic, like it's not obviously in universe.
No.
But then also when the combat encounters are so much smaller than they were in like a regular Half-Life game, of like, the music starts pumping up and 3 guys come out and you're like, oh fuck.
Oh dear. Yeah.
And then you kill them and there's 2 more.
Oh no.
And then the music does the stinger at the end and you're like, yeah. Dang. But it was total 5 enemies and you're like, but it was super intense because they can kill you super easily.
I mean, yeah, like, look, think of it this way. If you had to kill 5 people in real life that were about to kill you with guns, you'd probably come out the other side feeling like a bit of a badass.
It also made me think how, like, viciously gross violence in VR could be if they had, like,
God, yeah, they could go totally over the fucking wall ape shit with the...
Like something like Left 4 Dead or Resident Evil 2 where you have like body deformation.
Oh god, RE2. Like I know, well, I mean fucking Resident Evil 7 is in VR. So I imagine if you want to get your dose of some of that weird body deformation stuff, I'll pick you up some Resident Evil 7. You'll have a good time.
So I bought Resident Evil 7 on PS4 for VR
and then we were
years ago.
Too much of a chicken.
It's that, and that it looks, the graphics are real rough when you have to put it in VR.
Well, yeah, it's PS4. Yeah,
it's like playing, the early PS3 version of RE7.
Yeah.
Plus, I think it just might be the resolution or what. Like PSVR just seemed to make me more motion sick.
Yeah, it's
like
likely they're the resolution problem.
I might try to go back to it now, but I was like, I think this headset has pretty spoiled me pretty heavily now.
I imagine.
Because this thing, it's like, it goes up to like 4K resolution. Like that's the big, it's fucking crazy. And again, it's being backed by, my modern PC and not the PS4
not
from
PS4.
2014.
Yeah. God, that was so long ago.
It's a pretty big jump there.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of hacking mini games in Alex. It's kind of funny, like feeling the game design maybe feels a little old, where it's like, hacking mini games. Remember those?
Hacking mini games from 2012? Really?
Yeah, but they make sense because they're all they wouldn't make sense in a regular game because they're all using 3D in some way.
Yeah.
Where one of them is like, there's a bunch of points in the air and you have to draw a laser that hits all of them.
Oh, nice.
And again, you're using all three movements of axis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. I said that all
axis
wrong.
of movement.
Yeah. So it's like doing that on a controller in a 2D, input in space would make no fucking sense.
No, not at all. But you can play that game out of VR though, can't you?
They modded it. That's a modder thing though. That's not Valve. Valve was like, you have to play this in VR, and people were like, I want to play it too for the story.
Yeah, the Half-Life story that makes so much sense.
Yeah. And but then everybody that played it in VR was like, it's not going to be the same, you idiots. Yeah. It's not. There are sections in this game that are pure pitch black. And you have a flashlight on your right hand.
Oh.
And you have your gun in your left hand.
Yeah, that's not going to work on a gamepad.
Oh, no. Not even just saying gamepad. I'm just saying, like, as a cool thing that this game does to scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
I came up to a heavy door that had a window on it, like just kind of a regular industrial door. And there's just a fucking head crab on the other side sucking on it. And I'm just like, oh, God.
Yeah, there you go.
When you accidentally get real close, there's so much gross in this game. Like, all the creatures are gross. And then you're seeing them, like, at full size right next to you.
Yeah.
You ever had a black head crab jump at you?
Oh,
like the real scary poison ones that are really fast?
The ones that'll take you to 1 health in an instant?
You know which ones they fucking throw at you in the pitch black segment?
Oh, good.
Oh, that's brutal.
Good. That's so good.
There are so many times this game makes me say, are you fucking kidding me? Where it's like, there's the objective. I know as soon as I walk over there, the lights are going to go off.
Yeah.
And then it does. And then like 3 black head crabs fall into the room. And I'm just like, fuck you fucking motherfuckers. And they are so sparse with shotgun ammo.
Right, yeah.
Because the shotgun's still very good. And then it don't miss really because you get just...
Yeah.
But man, there's like a section called like the nest. It's just all black head crabs. I really hate those fuckers. There's a new one that's like electric head crab. It's like a boss that you fight twice, and they are just they take like it's a full on boss fight. Like it's not just I hit it with the shotgun like twice. It's like I dumped literally all the ammo I have into this thing, and then it died. God. Like it takes like 30 shots or something, and then it just starts limping. I know, it's like the game doesn't go, it's a boss fight. It's just like, hey, here's this one extremely strong enemy that shows up twice. And then when it's low on health, it starts limping. And I'm just like, walk up to it slowly, point the handgun down, cock it, like, fuck off.
Cold-blooded.
Merciless.
Where were you when Rhett became a true killer?
Again, the first time I felt a little bad. The second fight went so poorly, I was like, you bitch. I get a little animated playing this game. Like, this is a tweet I made. It's like,
this is something I wish I could see. I literally wish I could watch you playing a VR game, and just like, this would be hilarious for me.
I fucking hit my ceiling last night. I have a couple keychains hanging down, and I went to throw an item, and I just felt a in real life, and I went, oh fuck! I just I forgot those were up there.
That's really good.
So good.
There's one part where I'm pointing a shotgun at a head crab, and I'm like, fuck around and find out, buddy. And then he jumps.
Oh.
He found out.
He found out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so I might bring this game up again next episode.
Sure,
so
yeah, I have to imagine you're close to the end at this point.
I feel like it is longer than I expected. Like, I don't feel it's a short game at all, but here's the crazy part that I haven't dived into at all. This has workshop support.
Oh, interesting.
There are people making their own little campaigns.
Oh, that could be real cool.
I saw one last night that was set in Portal 2 level, like, maps.
Oh, shit.
And I guess that one specifically is like a little puzzle thing, so they use the Portal stuff, but
Portal
it's like,
2,
oh.
Portal 2 VR, baby.
There's no fucking way you could not puke doing portals.
I know, it'd be great. Give me that.
I remember like 10 years ago, when VR was first starting off, immediately people were asking Valve for Portal, and they're like, "We tried it. Everybody froze up."
Puked.
I mean, just the regular Portal 2 or regular Portal gets you a little nauseous. It could be
I remember a couple of times like falling through multiple portals and kind of just being, oh boy.
Like, if you did one of those, like, ceiling to floor and just infinite loops.
Infinite loops, you just kind of start
feeling
feeling
you would mess yourself up in VR, like, instantly. Because, like, Half-Life Alyx does kind of have a jump button, but then it moves you in a straight line.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't actually do an arc. It does a very gentle transition.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Any sort of, like, vertical... Like, even just riding elevators in this game makes me feel a little weird. Because even though that's a realistic thing, like, your stomach just knows that something's up right now.
Yeah, something's not right.
God, that's funny.
Yeah, this game's very cool.
That's awesome. I'm glad it's treating you well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would hope the game that is, like, now, like, #1 on every must-play VR game list.
Yeah.
I hope it would hold up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, oh no, what are we doing? This whole VR thing is a sham.
We fucked up!
How about are you excited by the grand Half-Life lore and story development?
I mean, I'm not excited.
Well, there you
curious what the fuck happens at the end of this game.
Yeah.
Cool.
You're going to be invested in some way.
It'll be like episode 2. Some cool shit there.
Oh, no. At the time I played episode 2, which was like 3 years after it came out, and my dumbass thinking, oh, they're going to finish this any day for sure. Now's the time to play it. Mm-hmm. I'm not as invested as I was back then, that's for sure. It's kind of funny. The first story arc in this game is saving Eli, so he looks like way younger because it's like a 10-year prequel.
Yeah.
But the voice actors have aged, so it's a little disconnecting there.
Yeah. Well, Eli's voice actor is dead, isn't he?
Wait, maybe that's it. It's a totally different actor.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Eli Vance's voice actor died.
Oops. My bad. I definitely felt something was a little off how I remembered it there.
Yeah.
Oof. So, is that a podcast?
I do believe we've put another podcast into the pan, fried it up, seared it up. Got a nice little bit of pink in the middle. It's going to taste real good when you bite into it. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us for Sockscast episode 150. It's always a pleasure to have you around.
Always a pleasure.
People that came to the live show and everybody that downloaded. John Thayer, tell the internet folks at home where they can find you.
Farawaytimes.itch.io.
And Wright.
I forgot the URL. Watch for Review Starlight.
Okay, and you can find me at twitch.tv/Pallyhead, where I will be up to various shenanigans streaming, including starting the Umineko series on Monday evening. So that's going to be fun. But I also get up to other various weird, stupid VTuber stuff. I play games from my childhood, like Purple Cape Man.
Yep.
Yeah.
That classic. That childhood classic.
That childhood classic. You just grow up, you love it. You remember the cartoons, you remember the movies, you remember the action
it's before
figures.
my time, but it's really nice getting into the headspace of like people who are there for the whole Purple Cape Man
I feel
phenomenon.
like we taught you a lot. I feel like you were there,
absolutely.
you were in chat. It looked like you were really absorbing a lot, and you were really appreciative of what was going on there. So yeah. Twitch.tv/Polyhead. But that's going to do it for us this episode. We will catch you again in a couple of weeks. And until then, remember, we are the podcast that loves you. We're the only ones that love you. All right. That sucked. All right.
What?
It's a reference.
Oh, okay.
I'm like,
No, it doesn't really suck. It's a Guns N' Roses thing. It's a song.
okay, me and John were like, what?
They finish a song and they finish a song and Axel just goes, "All right, that sucked." Let's see who's streaming so I can get people on out of here. Fresno's still going, but Fresno looks like Fresno's wrapping up. But Fresno's a VTuber now, just so everybody knows.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Huh. Looking like a pretty thin night, stream-wise. So I'll just throw everybody over to LRock617, who is learning the Batman arcade. He was learning Super Contra, but then he pussed out. Yeah, you heard me. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's right. It's from "Don't Damn Me," which is literally one of my favorite Guns N' Roses songs. How did I not remember it was that song? All right, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Much love. I'll catch you tomorrow night. Hopefully, I'm starting to feel a little sick.
Oh God.
But I think it's just a sinus infection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody's getting stuff. Like my brother got Omicron over Christmas, and then in the last week has gotten a bacterial infection.
It was like an Oma Christmas for him.
Absolutely, he's having a fun time.
All right, I'm getting out of here, folks. Later.